we can because we are Math9. I am Teacher Andrew, your soulmate. Allow me to guide you in learning the different concepts and skills in Mathematics 9. We are still on solving equations, and in today's episode, we will deal with equations that can be transformed into quadratic equations. An example of this is the equation x to the fourth power minus 12x squared plus 11 equals 0. This equation is not quadratic because the highest exponent of the variable is not 2 but 4. But we can rewrite it as a quadratic equation. Here's how. We can see that the exponents of the variable x are 2 and 4, where the higher, which is 4, is twice the lower, which is 2. This means we can express the variable with a higher exponent in terms of the one with the lower exponent. So let's say we let x squared be equal to m. It follows that x to the fourth power can be represented as m squared. Therefore, the equation x to the fourth minus 12x squared plus 11 equals 0 can be rewritten as m squared minus 12m plus 11 equals 0. It has been transformed into a quadratic equation. Can we solve it now? Yes, we can. What method do you have in mind? I am thinking of solving it by factoring. Since the numerical coefficient of the quadratic term m squared is just 1, the trinomial has two binomial factors whose first terms are identical, both equal to m. So we must think of two numbers, a and b, the constant terms in the binomial factors. What are our clues? The coefficients in the trinomial should reveal these. The product of the constants a and b must be 11, the constant term in the trinomial. Their sum must be negative 12, the coefficient of m. Since their product is positive and their sum is negative, we can be sure that a and b are both negative. So, what are the two numbers? They are negative 1 and negative 11. Therefore, the factors of the trinomial are the binomials m minus 1 and m minus 11. So we can now rewrite the equation as m minus 1 multiplied by the binomial m minus 11 equals 0. Equating each factor to 0, we must get that the values of m are 1 and 11. And by substitution, since we let m be equal to x squared must be equal to 1, and x squared must also be equal to 11. These are quadratic equations of the form ax squared equals k, where a is 1. So, we can solve for x by extracting square roots. And we must get that x is equal to positive or negative 1, and also equal to positive or negative square root of 11. These are the roots of the equation x to the fourth power minus 12x squared plus 11 equals 0. Let's have another example. We have the binomial x squared plus 2x quantity squared minus 2 times the binomial x squared plus 2x minus 3 equals 0. If we are going to square the binomial x squared plus 2x, then we would see that the equation is not quadratic either. The highest exponent of the variable x is 4. But notice that both the first and the second terms contain the binomial x squared plus 2x, with exponents 2 and 1 respectively. The case is the same. The higher exponent is twice the lower exponent. Say we let x squared plus 2x be equal to n. It follows that x squared plus 2x quantity squared can be represented as n squared. So in terms of n, the equation can be rewritten as n squared minus 2n minus 3 equals 0. Our task now is to solve the equation. And squared minus 2n minus 3 equals 0. And we can do it by factoring. N squared minus 2n minus 3 is equal to the binomial n plus 1 times the binomial n minus 3. So, the equation can be written as binomial n plus 1 times binomial n minus 3 equals 0. Equating each factor to 0 and then solving for n, we must get that the values of n are negative 1 and 3. Now, recall that we let x squared plus 2x be equal to n. Therefore, by substitution, x squared plus 2x must be equal to negative 1 and 3. So we have to solve these two equations. We first write each in standard form. X squared plus 2x equals negative 1 in standard form is written as x squared plus 2x plus 1 equals 0, while x squared plus 2x equals 3 is x squared plus 2x minus 3 equals 0 in standard form. Both trinomials in these equations are factorable. X squared plus 2x plus 1 is equal to the square of the binomial x plus 1, while x squared plus 2x minus 3 is equal to the product of the binomials x plus 3 and x minus 1. Therefore, the equation x squared plus 2x plus 1 equals 0 will now be written as x plus 1 quantity squared equals 0, which can be solved by extracting square roots. Hence, the equation x plus 1 equals 0. X must be equal to negative 1. The equation x squared plus 2x minus 3 equals 0 can be rewritten as the product of x plus 3 and x minus 1 set equal to 0. Equating each factor to 0 and solving for x, we must get that x is negative 3 and x is 1. Thus, the roots of the equation x squared plus 2x quantity squared minus 2 times the binomial x squared plus 2x minus 3 equals 0 are negative 1, negative 3, and 1. What about if we are given this equation? Such an equation is called a rational algebraic equation. In this type of equation, we see variables in the denominators. And since x is one of the denominators, the value of x can't be 0. Otherwise, the expression 1 over x is undefined. To transform it into a quadratic equation, we should multiply both sides of the equation by the LCD of the rational algebraic expression, which means we have to identify the least common multiple, or LCM, of 3, x, and 12. So we express each of these in prime factorization. The prime factorization of 3 is itself, and so is x, while 12 is equal to 2 squared times 3. Let's record these in a table. What are the different bases that we see in these factorizations? We have 3, x, and 2. What is the highest exponent of 3 that appears in these factorizations? 1. What is the highest exponent of x that appears in these factorizations? 1 also. What is the highest exponent of 2 that appears in these factorizations? 2. The LCM of 3x and 12 must be the product of 3 raised to 1, or simply 3, x raised to 1, or simply x, and 2 raised to 2, which is equal to 12x. Thus, the LCD is equal to 12x. So we have to multiply both sides of the equation by 12x. So we have x over 3 times 12x equals 12x squared over 3, which is equal to 4x squared. 1 over x times 12x is equal to 12x over x, or simply 12. 19 over 12 times 12x is equal to the product of 19 and 12x over 12, or simply 19x. Hence, the rational algebraic equation can now be expressed as the quadratic equation 4x squared plus 12 equals 19x. Written in standard form, the equation must look like this. Let's use the quadratic formula to solve this derived quadratic equation. In the equation, a is 4, b is negative 19, and c is 12. X equals the negative of negative 19 plus or minus the square root of the expression square of negative 19 minus 4 times 12 all over 2 times 4. So x must be equal to positive 19 plus or minus the square root of the expression 361 minus 192 all over 8. And x should be equal to 19 plus or minus the square root of 169 all over 8. X is equal to 19 plus or minus 13 all over 8. We now split the equation into 2. X sub 1 equals 19 plus 13 all over 8. X sub 2 equals 19 minus 13 all over 8. X sub 1 must be equal to 32 over 8, which can be simplified as 4. X sub 2 must be equal to 6 over 8, or the fraction 3/4, when reduced to lowest term. Therefore, the values of x that make the derived quadratic equation true are 4 and 3/4. And these are also the values that satisfy the original equation, which is rational algebraic. Let's have another example. Let's solve this equation. Equating each denominator to 0, we must get the values of x that will make the rational algebraic expressions undefined. X plus 1 equals 0, so x equals negative 1. 2x equals 0, x equals 0. X squared plus 2x plus 1 equals 0 can be expressed as x plus 1 quantity squared equals 0. Therefore, x here is negative 1. So it means that x can't be negative 1 because 2 over x plus 1 and x over trinomial x squared plus 2x plus 1 will be undefined. X can't be 0 either because 1 over 2x will also be undefined. So our step 1 is to determine the LCD. X plus 1 is a prime polynomial. 2x is the product of constant 2, which is already prime, and the variable x, while x squared plus 2x plus 1 is the square of the binomial x plus 1 in factored form. So let's record these in a table. What are the different bases that we see in the factorizations? We have x plus 1, 2, and x. What is the highest exponent of the base x plus 1 that appears in these factorizations? It is 2. What is the highest exponent of 2 that appears in these factorizations? It is 1. What is the highest exponent of x that appears in these factorizations? It is also 1. So the LCD must be equal to the product of the quantity x plus 1 raised to the second power, 2 raised to 1 or simply 2, and x raised to 1 or simply x. The LCD may just be expressed in factored form, so it'll be easier to multiply by it later. Hence, the LCD of the expressions can be expressed as 2x multiplied by the square of the binomial x plus 1. Step 2, multiply both sides of the equation by the LCD. 2 over x plus 1 times the LCD is equal to what? By cross cancellation, we must get 2 times 2x times the binomial x plus 1 raised to 1, or simply 2 times 2x times the binomial x plus 1. And the product of these quantities is 4x squared plus 4x. 1 over 2x times the LCD, this equation can be written now as 4x squared plus 4x plus x squared plus 2x plus 1 equals 2x squared. Step 3. Write the obtained equation in step 2 in standard form. By combining similar terms, the left side of the equation can be simplified as 5x squared plus 6x plus 1. If we decrease both sides by 2x squared, we can now achieve the standard form of the equation, which is 3x squared plus 6x plus 1 equals 0. Step 4. Solve the derived quadratic equation. What method should we use to solve the equation? Let's use the quadratic formula. In the equation, a is equal to 3, b is equal to 6, and c is equal to 1. X equals the negative of 6 plus or minus the square root of the expression 6 squared minus 4 times 3 times 1 all over 2 times 3. X must be equal to the negative of 6 plus or minus the square root of the expression 36 minus 12 all over 6. X should be equal to the negative of 6 plus or minus the square root of 24 all over 6. 24 can be expressed as the product of its largest perfect square factor, which is 4 and 6. X is equal to the negative of 6 plus or minus 2 square root of 6 all over 6. The constant negative 6 and the coefficient 2 and the constant 6 in the denominator are all divisible by 2. So, we can reduce the expression to its lowest term by dividing both the numerator and denominator by 2. Thus, x is equal to negative 3 plus or minus square root of 6 all over 3. One last example. Let's solve this equation. X should not be equal to 3, nor should it be equal to 2. 3 and 2 are called the excluded values of x. This is because x minus 3 will be equal to 0 when x is 3, and hence 1 over x minus 3 will be undefined. X minus 2 will be equal to 0 when x is 2, and thus 1 over x minus 2 will be undefined. The trinomial x squared minus 5x plus 6 is equal to the product of the binomials x minus 3 and x minus 2. And so, it will be equal to 0 when x is 2 or when x is 3, making the expression 1 over the trinomial x squared minus 5x plus 6 undefined. So, we go to step 1 now to solve the equation. Determine the LCD. I mentioned earlier that the denominator x squared minus 5x plus 6 is equal to the product of the binomials x minus 3 and x minus 2, which happen to be the other two denominators in the equation. If this is the case, then the LCD of the expressions is the trinomial x squared minus 5x plus 6, or the factored form x minus 3 times the binomial x minus 2. Step 2. Multiply both sides of the equation by the LCD. 1 over x minus 3 times the LCD is equal to x minus 2. X over x minus 2 times the LCD is equal to x squared minus 3x. 1 over the trinomial x squared minus 5x plus 6 times the LCD is equal to 1. Therefore, the rational algebraic equation can be written this way. Since the binomial x squared minus 3x is preceded by a plus sign, we do not need to reverse the signs of the terms in this binomial. So, we may remove the parentheses. Hence, we can write the equation like this. X minus 2 plus x squared minus 3x equals 1. Step 3. Write the obtained equation in step 2 in standard form. By combining similar terms and arranging the terms in descending powers, the left side of the derived quadratic equation can be simplified as x squared minus 2x minus 2. Thus, the equation x squared minus 2x minus 2 equals 1. Then, by decreasing both sides by 1, the standard form can already be achieved, which is x squared minus 2x minus 3 equals 0. Step 4. Solve the derived quadratic equation. X squared minus 2x minus 3 equals 0 can be solved by factoring. X squared minus 2x minus 3 is equal to the product of the binomials x minus 3 and x plus 1. The equation can then be written as x minus 3 times the binomial x plus 1 equals 0. And by equating each factor to 0, we must get that x is equal to 3 and x is also equal to negative 1. However, recall that in the original equation, x must not be equal to 3 and to 2. Therefore, 3 is called an extraneous root. An extraneous root or solution is a solution of an equation derived from the original equation, but it is not a solution to the original equation. Hence, only negative 1 satisfies the given rational algebraic equation. Kagamath, ready your pen and paper. This is Math the Moment. Let's solve for the following equations. Equation number 1, x raised to the 4th power minus 5x squared plus 4 equals 0. For 30 seconds, go. Time is up. Since the equation is of degree 4, and we can express the leading term x to the 4th power in terms of the quadratic term x squared, where x to the 4th is equal to the square of x squared, we can let x squared be equal to another variable, say for instance, r. It follows then that x to the 4th power must be equal to r squared. The equation x to the 4th power minus 5x squared plus 4 equals 0 should then be written as r squared minus 5r plus 4 equals 0. And this equation can be solved by factoring and can be expressed as the equation r minus 1 times r minus 4 equals 0. Equating each factor to 0, we must get that the values of r are 1 and 4. By substitution, we have the equations x squared equals 1 and x squared equals 4, which can be both solved by extracting square roots. Hence, the values of x are positive or negative 1 and positive or negative 2. Equation number 2, 4 over x minus 5 over x plus 3 equals 1. For 45 seconds, go. And freeze, but don't get numb, please. The second equation is rational algebraic. Since x and x plus 3 are the denominators, x cannot be 0 nor negative 3. You might have observed that the denominators x and x plus 3 are both prime. Thus, the LCD of the expressions is the product of these denominators. By multiplying both sides of the equation by the LCD, what do we get? 4 over x times the product of x and x plus 3 must be equal to 4 times x plus 3 or 4x plus 12. 5 over x plus 3 times the LCD x times x plus 3 is equal to 5x. 1 times the LCD x multiplied by the binomial x plus 3 is equal to the LCD itself, which is x times the binomial x plus 3 or x squared plus 3x. Therefore, the rational algebraic equation can be written as 4x plus 12 minus 5x equals x squared plus 3x. This means that negative x plus 12 is equal to x squared plus 3x. Applying symmetric property, the equation can be written as x squared plus 3x equals negative x plus 12. By increasing both sides by x and then diminishing both by 12, we must get the standard form of the derived quadratic equation, which is x squared plus 4x minus 12 equals 0. This equation can also be solved by factoring. Let's rewrite the equation as x minus 2 times the binomial x plus 6 equals 0. Equating each factor to 0, we must arrive at the following values of x: 2 and negative 6. Equation number 3. 1 over x plus x over 2 equals 11 over 6. For 45 seconds, go! And time is up. The value of x in the equation must not be 0, since the expression 1 over x will be undefined. Were you able to determine the LCD? Since one of the denominators is x, the LCD must be the product of x and the LCM of the constant denominators 2 and 6. The LCM of 2 and 6 is 6. Therefore, the LCD of these expressions must be equal to x times 6, or simply 6x. So, we multiply both sides of the rational algebraic equation by 6x. And the resulting equation must be 6 plus 3x squared equals 11x. Expressed in standard form, the equation must be 3x squared minus 11x plus 6 equals 0. Let us solve the quadratic equation by using the quadratic formula. In the equation, a is 3, b is negative 11, and c is 6. So x equals the negative of negative 11 plus or minus the square root of the expression square of negative 11 minus 4 times 3 times 6 all over 2 times 3. X then must be equal to positive 11 plus or minus the square root of the expression 121 minus 72 all over 6. So x should be equal to 11 plus or minus the square root of 49 all over 6. X is equal to 11 plus or minus 7 all over 6. So x sub 1 must be equal to 11 plus 7 over 6. That can be simplified as 18 over 6, or simply 3. While x sub 2 must be equal to 11 minus 7 all over 6. That can be simplified as 4 over 6, or 2/3 when reduced to its lowest term. Equation solved! And that's it, Kagamath. I hope today's episode has been very helpful. This has been your soulmate, Teacher Andrew. Let me end with this note. Studying all the math concepts and skills can make you an analytical and critical thinker. See you again next time as we face, overcome, and befriend the challenges. We can because we are Math9.
Hello there, bright minds. I hope you're having a delightful day. It's us again, Sir DJ and Dan, your English learning buddies. To make sure you will learn and enjoy our English lessons together. So make sure you have your pen and your paper ready with you, okay? Because once again, we will explore the wonders of this universal language. So let's get this rolling. Are you good in guessing how things will turn out in the future? Have you ever had that moment when you took a guess of what was about to happen and then it did? Can people really tell what's going to happen in the future? Definitely not. We cannot say for sure what will happen in the future.
What we can do is to take a guess as to what's going to happen.
A smart guess based on observation and experience. A prediction or a forecast is a statement about a future event. Although future events are, of course, uncertain, this means that guaranteed, accurate information about the future is impossible. However, it can be very useful as a guide of what a person might and should do. Let's see if you can do predictions. Do you remember the if clause? Yes, an if clause is a condition that has to be met for the result clause to take place. Try to give me a possible outcome or a very likely result of the if clause that I will be giving you. Have your pen and paper ready? I want you to write as many result clauses as you can so you can get a bigger chance of guessing it right. Are you ready? Let's call this activity What Will Happen Next? Here it goes. For the first one, if the sky turns gray, what will happen next? Time's up! How many results were you able to write? I'm sure you wrote a bunch. Good! Let's see if you got it right. Here's the result of my if clause. If the sky turns gray, it will rain soon. Piece of cake. I'm certain you got that right. Let's try the next one. If you do not finish your assignment, what will happen next? Oh my, this could be scary. What will happen if you do not finish your assignment? Let's see if you got that right. If you do not finish your assignment, you will get a low score. Were you able to get the correct result? Let me guess. You wrote that the teacher will get angry, right? Well, that's okay. I see you're answering based on experience, huh? Clever. What about this one? If I eat too much chocolate, what will happen next? Chocolates sure are delicious, but if you eat too much, it's not good for you. If you wrote, if I eat too much chocolate, I will gain weight. Moderate chocolate intake has been shown to help lower blood pressure, improve insulin sensitivity, and improve total cholesterol levels. But since chocolate is high in calories, sugar, and fat, eating a lot of it will cause weight gain. And as we know,
Obesity.
has a significant negative impact on health. So be mindful of your sweets. In my opinion, you also wrote something else. If you have clauses about toothaches and stomach aches, then those are good answers too. Here's another one. If the sun gets too hot on the beach, what will happen next? I love going to the beach and I don't mind the heat. It shows in my complexion, right? But what will happen if the sun gets really hot? If the sun gets too hot on the beach, people will get sunburns. I'm certain you got that right. So next time you go to our stunning beaches in the Philippines and are under the summer sun, don't forget to wear sunscreen so that instead of being sunburned, you can say that you will be sun-kissed. And for the last sentence, if you don't go after what you want, what will happen next? Are you uncertain of what to do? Is something keeping you from getting or doing what you want? Then this conditional sentence is for you. If you don't go after what you want, you will never have it. Life is a game. You live so you play. So if you just go around waiting for miracles to happen, you're wasting your time. The world will not stop for you. Do not chase people. Chase your dreams. You might be thinking, why are we talking about possibilities in the future? That's because for today, we will be talking about a conditional that deals with possible outcomes or results in the future. The first conditional. But before we move on to the next lesson, let's have a recap of what we had last episode. Last time, we talked about the zero conditional. What are conditionals? Conditionals are statements expressing the result of a particular condition. The if clause and when clause presents the condition while the main clause or the result clause explains the results. Conditional statements may appear in both affirmative and negative structures. In a statement, conditionals may appear first before the main clause. If the main clause appears before the conditional, the meaning of the sentence remains the same. Look back on your notes. What is a zero conditional? That's right. The zero conditional is also called a factual conditional because it is used to express truths and facts. It can also express habits, instructions, and rules. How do we write a zero conditional? If you're thinking about the present simple verb, then you are correct. We use the present simple verb in both the if clause and the result clause. I see you're studying well. I'm impressed. If the zero conditional is a factual conditional, the first conditional is a possible conditional. Why, you ask? That's because it is not about facts anymore. The first conditional talks about a possible outcome or a result that may or may not happen in the future. It talks about what's likely to happen. This type may be formed using unless, as long as soon as, or in case. But the most common form uses this structure. If or when, then we are going to use the present simple in the if clause, and in the result clause, we will use the future tense, which is will plus the base form of the verb. In the first conditional, the if clause is the condition that has to be met, and the result clause is an outcome that is likely to happen. We are not 100% sure that it will happen, but there is a chance. For example, if I save enough money, I will buy a new jacket. In this sentence, the verb in the if clause is in present simple, while the verb in the result clause is in the future tense. This tells us that the verb in the result clause is a possibility in the future. It may or may not happen. Another example. When I finish with my learning task, I will play video games. Again, do you notice how the two clauses work together? This sentence shows that the speaker will only play video games once he is finished with his learning task. I hope you do follow this example. Accomplish your learning task first before playing, not the other way around. As soon as I receive my salary, I'll buy you a new phone. Sounds like music to your ears, huh? Notice that we used as soon as in this sentence. Just like what I told you a while ago, we can use these. Check your self-learning modules for more examples. Let's try this. If it rains, the road gets wet. If it rains, the road will get wet. Are they the same? You're right, they are not the same. The first sentence states a fact. It is a zero conditional. A general rule that if it rains, the road gets wet. While the second sentence, which is a first conditional, is a warning or advice that is telling you that in the future, the road will get wet once it starts raining. Take note that the first conditional can be used to express possible plans, promises, warnings, threats, or for persuading someone. For example, if I go to Surigao del Norte, I will visit Siargao Island. If I wake up early, I will prepare breakfast. My family and I will go camping if the weather is nice. These sentences show possible plans. If I have time, I will help you with your essay. I will write a poem as soon as I get there. If you stay here, I will buy you an ice cream. These sentences show promises. Remember to always keep your promises, because as it is said, people with good intentions make promises. People with good character keep them. When we express warnings using the first conditional, it goes like this. If you touch that wire, you will get an electric shock. You will get a violation ticket if you break the rules. If you're not careful, you will get hurt. Here are conditional statements that show threat. If you eat my chocolate in the fridge, you will pay for it. I will get mad if you say bad words. If you don't play fair, I will report you. Lastly, if we use the first conditional to persuade someone, it goes like this. If you go with me to the mall, I will buy you a cup of coffee. I will go with you if you ask politely. If you work hard, I will write a commendation letter to the manager. As I have mentioned before, conditionals can be used in expressing a stand or an argument. Expressing an argument is helpful in presenting one's reasoning to change another person's point of view on a particular topic or issue. Conditionals may be helpful in persuading others to move or act and even change their thoughts. Do you still remember the models? We can actually use some of them in our first conditional sentences. Normally, will is used in the main clause of the first conditional sentence. However, you can also use the modal verbs may, might, and could when something is a possible result and not a certain one in the future. If you are nice to me, I may buy you a gift when I'm in Boracay. If they train a little harder, they might win the match. If he doesn't do his work, he could get fired. Now, for a very exciting activity, I will read a conditional sentence and then you'll try to identify whether it is a zero conditional or a first conditional. Are you ready? Let's go! Number 1. If you scream too much, you'll hurt your throat. Is it a first or a zero? Correct! This sentence is a first conditional because the future tense of the verb is present in the result clause. Let's try the next one. When you work out, you burn fats. Spot on! This is a zero conditional. Both the if clause and the result clause used a present simple verb. You will cry if you watch a drama film. Is it a first or a zero? Great job! It is a first conditional. The result clause only states a possibility, not a fact, because not everybody cries over a sad movie, right? When my dad comes, greet him nicely. Is it a first or a zero? Very good! It is a zero conditional because it gives you an instruction. Lastly, God listens when you pray. Amazing! This statement is a zero conditional because it is a fact. When we pray, God listens. Remember, whenever you are feeling down and sad, our Father upstairs is just one call away, and the prayer is a direct phone line to Him. Never miss a chance to pray. For the next activity, we will have a mini quiz. You heard it right. Mini, small, short, and cute quiz. Using your pen and paper, try to answer these questions. Don't worry, it will be very easy, and I'm sure you'll answer all of them correctly. I will be giving you choices, and you will only have 3 seconds to answer. Are you ready? Let's go! Number 1. The first conditional is used if there is blank that the condition will happen. A. No possibility. B. Little real possibility. C. A real possibility. Or D. Few possibilities. If your answer is C, then you got it right. The first conditional is used if there is a real possibility that the condition will happen. Let's have the next one. If we blank free, we'll go with you. Which is correct? A. Were. B. Are. C. Was. Or D. Had been. B is the correct answer. If we are free, we'll go with you. That's because, as we have discussed a while ago, in the first conditional, the verb in the if clause is in its simple present form. Number 3. We'll win if we blank well enough. Which is correct? A. Play. B. Playing. C. Played. Or D. Had played. Did you write A? Then that is correct. Nice work. We'll win if we play well enough. You're doing good so far. Here's the next one. Number 4. If they do not pass their exam, the teacher blank sad. Which should we use? A. Is. B. Was. C. Will be. Or D. Had been. If you think C is the answer, then you are correct. If they do not pass their exam, the teacher will be sad. The verb in the result clause should be written in the future tense. For the last one, number 5. When I find your email, I blank you the pictures. Which is correct? A. Sends. B. Sent. C. Sending. Or D. Will send. Letter D, that is the correct answer. When I find your email, I will send you the pictures. Were you able to write down all 5 correct answers? I'm sure you did. You really are amazing. Good job on keeping up with us. For that, you get another 2 thumbs up from Sir DJ and Dan. As you practice writing the first and second conditionals, try to write down sentences on what you think the future holds for you. What are the things that you want to happen in the future? And since we are writing conditional sentences, what conditions should be met for you to achieve those? And that ends our episode today. That was a blast. I hope you had an amazing time with us, your English learning buddies, Sir DJ and Dan. Stay tuned because in the next episode, we will make use of our imagination. always keep safe, guys. And as I always say, never stop learning because life never stops teaching. See you in the next one. Peace.
Tumama sa bansa ang COVID-19 pandemic, dahilan upang maantala ang normal na daloy ng pamumuhay at trabaho sa lahat ng sektor, kabilang na ang kagawaran ng edukasyon. Nang ipatupad ang Luzon lockdown, inilunsad ang DepED Commons upang tuloy ang pagkatuto ng mga learners habang nasa bahay. Sa kabila ng mabigat na hamon sa ilalim ng new normal, patuloy na nagpunyagi ang DepED upang maghanap at maghatid ng mga alternatibong pamamaraan upang magpatuloy ang edukasyon sa pinakaligtas at pinakaangkop na paraan. Sa ilalim ng Learning Continuity Plan, layunin ng DepED na magpatuloy ang edukasyon nang hindi nakokompromiso ang kapakanan at kalusugan ng mga guro at mag-aaral. Isusulong ng DepED ang tatlong pangunahing layunin: angkop na proteksyon, kaugnay ng mga health standards at safety protocols para sa ligtas na school year, patuloy na edukasyon sa pamamagitan ng blended learning, distance learning at homeschooling na angkop sa kapasidad ng bawat mag-aaral, at mabisang aksyon sa pakikipagtulungan sa lokal na pamahalaan at mga partner organizations upang maihatid ang dekalidad na edukasyon para sa lahat. Bawat DepEd division ay bumuo rin ng sarili nilang Learning Continuity Plan upang gabayan ang mga guro, mga magulang at mga mag-aaral sa bagong pamamaraan ng pag-aaral gamit ang online, modular, at TV and radio-based instructions. Gamit ang iba't ibang learning modalities, nagdaos ng dry run ang mga paaralan sa iba't ibang bahagi ng bansa, katuwang ang mga local government units at mga education partners upang maging handa sa bagong sistema ng edukasyon. Isinagawa rin ang mga pagsasanay at oryentasyon sa mga magulang upang maging epektibong katuwang sa pag-aaral ng kanilang mga anak. Sa anumang hamon o sitwasyon, handa ang DepED. Handang kumilos, handang tumugon, at handang magserbisyo.
Ang dami ng mga pagsusubok at challenges ang naharap at napagtagumpayan ng ating Department of Education. Tuwing may pagsusubok, priority palagi natin ang ating learners at ang ating mga teachers sa tulong ng parents at saka partners at ang buong bansa. Ngayon, sa hinaharap natin itong new normal na sinasabi nila, matatag ang ating kagawaran, matatag ang DepED, dahil pinagtibay na tayo ng panahon, kayang-kaya natin ito sa tulong ninyo.
Magandang araw, Pilipinas! Aarangkada na naman tayo sa bagong mga pagkakataon ng pagkatuto, paglago at pagbabago sa tulong ng mga akdang pampanitikang tiyak na kawiwilihan ninyo. Ang inyong lingkod, Ginoong Hamil Q. Carvajal, kaibigang guro ninyo sa asignaturang Filipino, dito sa nag-iisang DepEd TV. Walang iwanan dahil sama-sama tayo sa paglalakbay at pagtuklas sa makulay at mayamang panitikan ng pinakamalaking kontinente sa daigdig. Walang iba, ang Asya. Kumapit at maghanda, tayo'y patuloy na maglalakbay sa panitikan ng Timog Silangang Asya. Kumusta? Alam kong naging makabuluhan at masaya ang ating distant talakayan noong nakaraang episode. Wika nga mag-throwback muna tayo sa pinakamahalagang puntong ating tinalakay sa nakalipas nating pagkikita. Handa na ba kayo? Heto na! Jakarta ang capital city ng bansang Indonesia, nakabilang sa tinatawag na Malay Archipelago. Kung may peso ang Pilipinas, rupya naman ang tawag sa currency ng Indonesia. Karamihan sa naninirahan ng bansang ito ay mananampalataya ng relihiyong Islam. Ultimo, ang leader ng kanilang bansa na si Pangulong Joko Widodo ay isa ring Muslim. Isa rin sa may pagmamalaking yaman ng Indonesia ay ang kanilang makulay na panitikan. Nabigyan ng pagkakataong mailagay sa spotlight ang Indonesia sa larangan ng literatura nang maitanghal ang nobela ni Mokhtar Lubis na pinamagatang Senja di Jakarta bilang isa sa mga ginintuang katha ng kanyang panahon. Ito ang kauna-unahang nobela na nasa bahasa Indonesia, opisyal na wika ng Indonesia, na naisalin sa wikang Ingles at sa iba pang mga wika sa daigdig. Ilang bahagi ng kabanata nito ay isinalin sa wikang Filipino ni Profesor Aurora Ibatnag. Ang salin ng akdang ito sa Filipino ay takip-silim sa Jakarta na siyang naging focus ng babasahin sa nakaraan nating episode. Naisulat ang akdang ito ni Mokhtar Lubis noong 1950 sa panahon ng kanyang house arrest. Matapang na tinalakay at isiniwalat ni Lubis ang kapuna-punang kalagayan ng Indonesia sa panahong ito
dahil sa lumalaganap na moral decay sa kabisera nitong Jakarta. Walang takot niyang binigyan ng kritisismo sa pamamagitan ng mga artikulo at akdang pampanitikang gaya ng takip silim sa Jakarta ang aspektong politikal at sosyo-ekonomiko ng Jakarta. Iminulat tayo ng kanyang akda sa mga panghahamak sa mga maralitang mamamayan at ang paulit-ulit na kabiguang magtagumpay sa pagkakamit at pagtatamasa ng ganap na malayang lipunan. Alam kong nabitin din kayo sa ating nabasang akda kahapon. Isa lamang ito sa mga piling bahagi ng ating nobelang Takip Silim sa Jakarta. Nakabasa na nga ba kayo ng mga akdang pampanitikan gaya ng nobela? Ano nga ba ang tinatawag nating nobela? Ayon sa dictionary.ph, hango sa salitang Espanyol na novela, isang katagang pampanitikan na ang kahulugan ay inimbentong akdang pasalaysay, karaniwang mahaba, masalimuot, at itinatanghal ang karanasang pantao sa pamamagitan ng konektadong serye ng mga pangyayari. Patunay ito na sa nobela ay maraming ligaw na tagpo. May mahaba itong kawing ng mga panahon at ginagalawan ng maraming tauhan. Kung hindi ito pag-uukulan ng panahon at focus, di gaya sa maikling kwento, ito ay hindi mabilis na mababasa sa iisang upuan lamang. Ang nobela, gaya rin ng maikling kwento, ay katatagpuan ng tunggaliang pumupukaw sa damdamin ng mambabasa. Walang buhay ang nobela kung walang tunggalian. Elemento ang tunggalian na nakapaloob sa banghay. Labanan ito sa pagitan ng magkakasulungat ng mga puwersa. Una, ang pisikal na puwersa o tao laban sa kalikasan. Ang tunggaliang ito ay tumutukoy sa tao laban sa mga elemento at puwersa ng kalikasan. Ikalawa, ang puwersang panlipunan o tao laban sa kapwa-tao. Ang problemang kinahaharap ng tao sa kanyang mga buhay, ang kasawiang dulot ng iba. At ang huli, panloob o psikolohikal na puwersa o tao laban sa sarili. Ito ay tunggalian ng tao laban sa kanyang sarili. Masasalamin dito ang dalawang magkasulungat na hangad o pananaw ng iisang tao. Malinaw, ayon sa nabanggit na mga definisyon, na ang naghaharing tunggalian sa tinalakay nating akdang Takip Silim sa Jakarta ay ang puwersang panlipunan. Kung naging isyu ng Indonesia ang mga mamamayan nilang maralita, hindi ito nalalayo sa kalagayan ng mga mamamayan ng ating bansa. Kaya nga ang iba sa atin ay napipilitang mangibang bayan para may maipantustos sa pangangailangan ng kanyang mag-anak. Marami sa ating mga kababayan ay naninilbihan sa ibang mga bansa bilang mga OFW sa paniniwalang matatagpuan ang ginhawa ng buhay kung makikipagsapalaran sa abroad. Ito ang sitwasyon ng bagong tauhang makikilala natin sa akdang pampanitikang mababasa natin ngayong araw na ito, na nagmula sa bansang Pilipinas na bahagi rin ng isang nobela. May ilan sa ating mga kababayan ay maihahalin tulad sa ating pangunahing tauhang si Andres Talon. Tunghayan natin ang kanyang salaysay at pakikipagsapalaran sa ibang bansa sa obrang isinulat ni Agustin Caral de Fabian. Malapit sa puso ni Fabian ang salaysay na ito sapagkat katulad ni Andres Talon o Andy, nakapagtapos din siya ng pag-aaral sa Estados Unidos. Hango ang akdang ito sa karanasan mismo ni Fabian. Mahigit 50 taon na siya nang sulatin at matapos ang nobela, kaya't nasasalamin dito ang kanyang malawak na kaalaman, karanasan, kaisipan, at damdaming pinanday panglalo ng mga taon sa kanyang buhay. Tulad ka ba ni na Agustin Fabian at ang kanyang piksyonal na karakter na si Andres Talon o Andy, na isa ring timawa? Tama ang narinig mong salita. Timawa ang pamagat ng nobelang tatalakayin natin sa araw na ito. Sabay-sabay nating basahin, panoorin, pakinggan, at tunghayan ang unang kabanata ng nobelang Timawa. Sabado noon at mag-iikapito ng gabi, si Andres Talon, na isang mahirap na estudyante, ay kasalukuyang naguhugas ng mga pinggang kinana ng ladies' dormitory sa isang universidad sa Amerika. Ito lamang ang paraan upang makapagpatuloy siya ng pag-aaral sa kolehiyo ng medisina. Nakatali sa kanyang baywang ang isang tapi at nakalilis ang mga manggas ng kanyang kamisadentro. Nangingintab sa pawis ang kanyang kayumangging mukha. Ang bula ng sabong nakabalot sa kanyang mga matitipunong bisig ay umabot sa siko. Mabilis ang kanyang paggawa at wala siyang aksayang kilos. Mahihinuha na lubhang sanay si Andres sa gawaing ito. Mukhang tapos ka na, Andy. Ngayon lamang ako nakakita ng ganyang kabilis magtrabaho. Basag ni Alice na siyang tagapangasiwa sa mga gawain sa kusina ng dormitory. Lalo na kung napupuri. Lalo akong bumibilis. Nakatawang sagot ni Andres. Wala na naman yata si Bill? Tanong ni Alice na lumapit sa Pilipino at nagsimulang tumulong dito. Si Bill ay katulong ni Andres sa paglilinis ng mga kasangkapan sa kusina. Dumating na humahangos si Bill. Lagi nang humahangos ito. Inihagis ang sombrero sa sabitan at naghubad ng Amerikana. Kiliw. Birong bati na kay Alice. Sabit mo na lamang ang aking Amerikana. Naabala mo si Andy. Nakatawang isinabit ni Alice ang damit ni Bill. Kumuha ng isang tapi at ibinigay sa binatang Amerikano. Suot mo yan. Yan lang yata ang pantalon mong mahusay. Nagsimulang maglampaso ng baldosa si Bill at binalikan naman ni Alice ang pagtulong kay Andres. Saan ka ba naging dalubhasa sa mga gawain sa kusina? Tanong ni Alice kay Andres. Sabihin mo nga, Andy. Udyok ni Bill. Ang simula ay sa amin. Ako ang tagahugas ng pinggan. Di mahirap yun. Iilan lamang naman ang aming pinggan. Nakatawang simula ni Andres. At madalas na itinataob ko na lamang ang mga pinggan ng di hugas. Nagkakahawig pala ng kalokohan. Maging mga batang Amerikano o Pilipino. Ani Alice. At isinalaysay ni Andres na, wika nga, ay palagay ang loob niya sa kusina. 16 na taon na siya nang mamatay ang kanyang ama at lubusang maulila. Katatapos lamang niya ng intermedya, may kamag-anak naman siyang kusinero sa isang bapor na nagyayaot dito sa Amerika at sa Pilipinas. Sumama siya. At 6 na buwang singkad akong tagapagmasahe ng mga pinggan, kubyertos at mga lutuan sa bapor. Kaya hindi kayo dapat magtaka na ako'y eksperto sa mga gawain yan. Tapos ni Andres. Usasera ka rin lamang, Alice. Ang biro naman ni Bill. Ang mabuti, itanong mo kay Andres kung ano-ano naging karanasan niya dito sa Amerika. Sige nga, sang-ayong kapagdaka ni Alice. Linggo rin lamang bukas, hindi baling tayo mapuyat. Alam ninyo, ani Andres na nagpahid na ng kamay. Ako ay may pagkahampas lupa. Teka. Hadlang ni Bill. Ilalabas ko muna itong basura. Ibig kong marinig uli yan. Nang bumalik si Bill, ay nakaupo na si Alice at Andres. Bumatak siya ng isang silya at nakiumpok sa dalawa. Ayun, simulan mo na. Sabi ni Bill na humilig mabuti sa kanyang upuan. Saan ninyo ako gustong magsimula? Nang dumating ka dito sa Amerika, tugon ni Alice. Sa San Francisco bumaba si Andres at ang paghuhugas ng pinggan ang unang naging hanap buhay. Naging manggagawa sa iba't ibang bayan ng California, namitas ng mansana sa Oregon at Washington, dalang hita sa Florida. Lalo na raw siyang umitim sa taniman ng kamatis, letsugas, repolyo at iba pang mga gulay. Naging serbidor sa mga restoran, naging utusan, naglilingkod sa salmunan sa Alaska, nagpapatag ng bato sa daang tren sa Nevada. Alin sa mga karanasan mo ang bumago sa takbo ng iyong buhay? Tanong ng dalagang Amerikana. Hindi kaagad tumugon si Andres. Tila tinimbang niya sa marami niyang karanasan ang pinakatampok. Ang totoo ay nag-aalangan si Andres na sariwain pa ang malungkot na bahagi ng kanyang buhay. Halimbawa, untag ni Alice. Bakit mo naisipan ng mag-aral? Bakit mo iniwan ng paglalagalag? Hindi nangyari sa Amerika ang karanasang bumago sa takbo ng aking buhay. Sa wakas ay sinabi ni Andres. Doon sa amin sa Pilipinas nangyari ito. Paano? Sa bad ni Bill. Magsasaka ang aking ama. May isang kaugalian sa amin, patuloy ni Andres, kung pista ng bayan, ang lahat ng magsasaka ay pumaroon sa malaking bahay na may-ari ng lupa at tumutulong sa karaniwang malaking handaan doon. Nagsisipag saing, nagsisibak ng panggatong, nagpapapatay ng manok, baboy, kambing at baka. Sabihin pa, ang lahat ng tumulong ay doon kakain. At isang pista nga ay isinama ako ng aking ama upang tumulong sa may-ari ng lupang aming sinasaka. May 13 gulang ako. Nung nagkakainan ng mga nanunulungan ay dumating ang donyang asawa ng aming kasama. At pinagmumura ang mga nagsisikain. Hindi pa raw natatapos kumain ng mga panauhin sa itaas ay inuuna na raw namin ang aming bituka. Lubha raw kami mga timawa. Hindi ko agad naunawa ng aking narinig. Patuloy ni Andres. Noong papauwi na lamang kami at sasabihin sa akin ni Amang ang kanyang pagdaramdam, noong ko lamang lubos na naunawaan ang kahulugan ng salitang timawa. Sinabi sa akin ni Ama na pagbutihin ko ang aking pag-aaral upang huwag kong sapitin ng kaapihang ganoon. Kung ako raw ay lalaking magsasaka at hindi akin ang sasakahing lupa, ganoon din ang aking kapalaran. Aalimurain ng mayaman. Ang isang timawa raw, kahalintulad ng isang aso. Sagpang ng sagpang. Huwag daw akong mag-aksaya ng panahon. Gagawin niyang makakaya upang ako'y matuto. Kay buti ng iyong ama. Ani Ales. Halos ang gabi ginagawa niyang araw. Dugtong pa ni Andres. Ibig niyang makaipon. Ang adhika niya ay maging isang manggagamot ako. Huminto muna si Andres sa kanyang pagsasalaysay. Nakatingin siya sa malayo na waring nakikitang muli ang kanyang ama. At pagkatapos ng ilang sandali, ay nagpatuloy na naman sa pagsasalita. At nang ako ay makatapos sa intermedya, gayon na lamang ang galak niya. Ngunit ang humalili sa kagalakang yan malagim na kalungkutan. Si Amay inabutan ng ulan isang tanghaling siya ay nagbubungkal ng lupa. Nagkasakit siya, pulmonya, at namatay. Dinampi ni Alice sa kanyang mata ng hawak niyang panyolito. Tumindig si Bill. Lumapit kay Andres at pinisil ang balikat ng kaibigang Pilipino. Mabuo ka, Bill, sabi ni Andres. Di pa ako natatapos. Naupong muli si Bill at muling nagsimula si Andres. Naubos na lahat, anya, ang kaunting naiipon ni Ama. Ulila na akong lubos ay wala pa ni isang sentimo. Subalit, isinumpa ko sa aking sarili sa harap ng bangkay ng aking ama na ako ay pilit na mag-aaral at ako ay magiging manggagamot. Hahanapin kong pilit ang tagumpay na siyang adhika niyang maging akin. Maluwat ding walang umimik matapos ang pagsasalaysay ni Andres. Nadama ni Bill at ni Alice ang malaking kalungkutan ni Andres. Sa wakas ay nagsalita si Alice. Nauunawaan na kita. Anya, lalong nauunawaan kita ngayon. Pakli ni Bill. Bakit? Ako ba'y naging isang hiwaga sa inyo? Tanong ni Andres at wala na sa kanyang tinig ang pagdaramdam at kalungkutan. Oo, isang hiwaga ka sa akin. Tugon ni Alice. Alam kong ikaw ay isang mabuting tao. Masipag ka, matalino, magalang. Ngunit tila ayaw mong makihalubilo sa iba. Tila ayaw mong ikaw ay maabala. Ibinukod mo ang iyong sarili. Tila may lihim kang lakad at ang lahat ng nasa paligid mo ay makaaabala sa iyo. Napapansin ko nga, tudyo na naman ni Bill na maluwat mo nang sinusubaybayan si Andy. Anong masama riyan? Tanong ng dalaga. maluwat na nating kasama si Andy. Wari ay malayo siya. Gayong kay lapit ay kay layo. Meron ba namang gayong araw-araw nagkakabunggo ang balikat, di mo matawag na kapalagayang loob? Lumalabas pa yatang malaking tawa ko. Tanong ng Pilipino. O kaya dungo naman, sundot ni Bill. Hindi malaking tao o dungo ang ibig kong sabihin. Paliwanag ni Alice. May anyo si Andy na nag-uudyok na nagmamalas na matanto kung ano mo siya. Pinipigil na nagmamalas na iyan naman ng isang hindi maunawa ang kilos ni Andy. Tila hindi mahalaga kay Andy ang magkaroon ng maraming kapalagayang loob. Pinalalaki mo loob ko, Alice. Dampot ni Andres. Di yata't akong pinag-aaksaya mo ng kuro-kuro. Di biro. Lagi kong naitatanong sa aking sarili kung bakit ibinubukod mong yung sarili sa karamihan. Ang karanasan ng nagtuturo sa akin yan. Ang madalas na mauntog ay natututong yumuko. Nako, lumalalim ang salitaan at di bumababaw. Hadlang ni Bill. Ang totoo ito, walang alinlangang mararating mong yung mga patutunguhan. Ngunit mag-aliw-aliw ka naman. Mag-iibayo ang sigla mo kung sanda-sandali man lamang ay ilalayo mong yung ilong sa libro. Maari ba namang ang isang malusog na gaya mo ay hindi maaakit ng mga dalaga? Ayan si Alice. Yang gandang yan. Bakit ba si Alice ang binibisit mo? Hadlang ni Andres. Kahit sa biruan may hangganan. Tigilan mo na si Andy. Pakli ng dalaga. At huwag mo naman akong ipag-ukulan. Anong malay mo kung si Andy ay meron ng itinatago? At tumawa si Alice. May itinatago si Andy? Pamanghang sabi ni Bill, walang maitatago sa akin yan. Iyan ang tinatawag na nauuhaw at ayaw makiinom. At kung tanggihan ang nakikiinom, tanong ni Andres, natatakot kang tanggihan kung ganun? Paano malalaman kung tatanggihan ka o kung hindi? Nakatawang tanong ni Alice. Tumindig na bigla si Andres. Ating gabi na, Bill. Aniya, mapupuyat na luba si Alice. Yan ang sinasabi ko. Pakot siyang pakli ni Bill. Ang magaling na kaibigan kong Pilipino takbuhin. Ngayon pa lamang sumasarap ang usapan, no? Tudyo niya. Saka pa tatalilis. Tayo na. Walang mangyayari sa akin kung manok ko ay takbuhin. Naunang lumabas si Bill. Nagsuot si Andres ng kanyang Amerikana at sumunod sa kaibigan. Inihatid siya ni Alice hanggang sa pintuang may kadiliman noon dahil sa bagya ng abutin ng liwanag ng ilaw. Alis na kami, Alice. At maraming salamat sa iyong kagandahang loob. Paalam ni Andres. Hindi pangkaraniwang gabi ito sa akin. Naramdaman na lamang ni Andres ang halik ni Alice sa kanyang pisngi. Timawa, unang kabanata sa nobelang isinulat ni Agustin C. Fabian. Marahil nang marinig ninyo ang katagang Timawa, lahat kayo ay nagtaka na ang salitang ito na may hindi magandang konotasyon ay maaari palang maging pamagat ng isang akdang pampanitikaan. Pero, alam ba ninyo na ang orihinal at naunang konteksto nito ay may magandang kahulugan? Ang timawa sa usaping politikal sa sinaunang lipunang Tagalog at Bisaya ay tao na kabilang sa uring malaya o tao na nahango mula sa pagkakaalipin. May variant na baybay o spelling ito na timagwa. Ngunit alalahanin nating ang kahulugan ng salita ay nagbabago sa paglipas ng panahon, sa danas at sitwasyon ng mga tauhan at nakaangkla sa pangangailangan ng tao. May mga pagkakataong hindi habang buhay nananatili ang kahulugan ng mga salita. Isa ito sa mga patunay na ang gamit ng wika ay sumasabay sa takbo ng panahon. Ngunit, naging timawa ba si Andres Talon sa magandang paraan gaya ng nasaksihan, narinig at nabasa natin sa unang kabanata ng nobela? Sa ating muling pagkikita, talakayin pa natin ang nobelang Timawa. At inaasahan kong sagutan ninyo ang sumusunod na mga tanong na pagmumula ng ating pagsusuri sa susunod nating episode. Ihanda ang inyong mga papel at ballpen o ang inyong mga cellphone para isulat o kunan ang sumusunod na mga tanong. Unang bilang, paano napadpad si Andres Talon sa Amerika? Ilarawan ang kanyang naging buhay rito. Ikalawa, bakit gayon na lamang ang paghanga ni Alice sa binata sa kalidad ng pagtatrabaho nito? Isa-isahin ang mga trabahong pinasukan ng binata sa Amerika. Ikatlo, makatwiran bang pagwikaan ng masama o tawaging timawa ng donya ang mga taong nanunulungan at kumain sa handaan? Bakit? Ikaapat, paano nakaaapekto sa katauhan ni Andres ang mga katagang binitawan ng donya na sila raw ay lubha pang masahol sa timawa? Ikalima at huli, masasalamin ba sa katauhan ni Andres ang taong may matibay na paninindigan sa sarili para maabot ang kanyang mga pangarap sa buhay? Patunayan. Lubos mo bang nagustuhan ang mga binasa nating akda? Maaari ninyong bisitahin ang website ng commons.deped.gov.ph. Libre ninyong ma-access at madadownload ang ating mga self-learning modules. Hanggang sa susunod nating pagkikita, muli ang inyong kaibigang guro, Ginoong Hamil Cooper Papay. Magbasa, magsulat, makinig at maghayag. Dahil sa Filipino at panitikang Asyano, ang karunungan ay patuloy na maglalayag.
Isang mapanuring araw mga mag-aaral ng grade 10, maligayang pagdating sa Araling Panlipunan para sa makabagong silid-aralan. Ako si Ma'am Che, ang teacher analyst na magiging gabay ninyo sa pag-unawa ng mga issue at pangyayari sa lipunang ating ginagalawan. Dito sa Araling Panlipunan 10, kayo ay magiging mulat, mapanuri at may paninindigang kabataang Filipino. Kaya ihanda na ang inyong mga self-learning modules, papel at ballpen at sisimulan na natin ang makabuluhang talakayan. Sagana ang Pilipinas sa mga likas na yaman. Tunay ngang ito'y biyaya ng kalikasan na tumutugon sa walang katapusan nating mga pangangailangan. Ngunit sa kabila ng mga kapakinabangan na makukuha natin mula dito, patuloy at mabilis itong nauubos dahil sa mapang-abusong paggamit nito. Ang paghahawa ng kagubatan o deforestation, pagmimina o mining, at pagka-quarry o quarrying ay mga kontemporaryong isyong pangkapaligiran na nararanasan ng ating bansa. Noong nakaraang episode, ay inilarawan natin ang kalagayan ng Pilipinas, ang sanhi at epekto ng mga isyong ito sa atin at mga hakbangin na ginagawa ng ating pamahalaan bilang pagtugon sa mga suliraning ito. Bago tayo dumako sa ating bagong aralin, nais ko munang hasain ang inyong kakayahan sa pagsusuri ng mga pahayag. Magbibigay ako ng 3 pahayag sa bawat paksang tinalakay natin noong nakaraang episode. Mula sa mga ito ay susuriin ninyo kung ano ang katotohanan sa hindi. Tatawagin natin ang gawaing ito na 2 truths and a lie. Pipiliin ninyo ang walang kinalaman sa paksa. Mayroon kayong 5 segundo upang magsuri. Simulan na natin? Una, paghahawa ng kagubatan o deforestation. 1. Ang pagkasira ng kagubatan ay nagbubunsod sa paglala ng mga suliraning dulot ng climate change. 2. Nananatiling mahigit sa kalahati o 57% ng kabuuang lupain ng Pilipinas ang kagubatan. 3. Isa sa mga nilalaman ng Batas Republika bilang 2706 ay ang pagtatatag ng Reforestation Administration. Ang 1 and 3 ay katotohanan, samantalang ang 2 ay hindi. Ayon sa lathalain na inilabas ng Senado noong 2015, mula 57% noong 1934, ito ay naging 23% na lamang noong 2010. Nangangahulugan ito na napakabilis ng pagkaubos ng ating kagubatan. Ikalawa, pagmimina o mining. 1. Ang Mindoro ay isa sa mga key biodiversity areas na may malalaking minahan sa bansa. 2. Isa sa mga epekto ng pagmimina ay ang pagkakaroon ng fish kill na sumisira sa kabuhayan ng mga mangingisda. 3. Ang Executive Order No. 79 na isinabatas noong 1995 upang maiwasan ang hindi mabuting epekto ng pagmimina. Kung ang sagot mo ay 3, tama ka. Ang isinabatas noong 1995 ay ang Philippine Mining Act. Ang batas na ito ay nilikha upang masubaybayan ang operasyon ng pagmimina sa buong bansa kasabay ng pangangalaga sa kalikasan. Ikatlo, pagko-quarry o quarrying. 1. Ang quarrying ay gawain kung saan ang iba't ibang mineral tulad ng metal, di-metal at enerhiyang mineral ay kinukuha at pinoproseso upang gawing tapos na produkto. 2. Ang pagkasira ng biodiversity at ecological balance ang pinakamatinding epekto ng quarrying. 3. Ang quarrying ay ginagawa sa mga bundok at tabing dagat. Ano ang inyong sagot? Kung ang sagot mo ay 1, Magaling! Ang quarrying ay paraan ng pagkuha ng mga bato, buhangin, graba at iba pang mineral mula sa lupa sa pamamagitan ng pagtitibag, paghuhukay at pagbabarena. Ang deforestation, mining at quarrying ay mga kontemporaryong isyung pangkapaligiran na may malawak na epekto sa ating lipunan at mamamayan. Placard. Saan mo to karaniwang nakikita? Ano ang karaniwang inilalagay dito? Kung ikaw ay bibigyan ng pagkakataong gumawa nito at ang ilalagay mo ay may kinalaman sa kontemporaryong isyung pangkapaligiran, sa anong isyu ka kaya magbibigay tuon? Sino sa inyo ang nakabasa o nakapanood sa balitang ito? Ito ay naganap noong September 25, 2020 sa UP Diliman. Sa kabila ng mga restriksyong dulot ng COVID-19, nagsama-sama ang mga Filipino environmental activist at miyembro ng Youth Advocates for Climate Action Philippines or YACAP para ilunsad ang Global Climate Strike. At hindi lamang ito sa Pilipinas inilunsad. Mahigit 3,000 mga lugar sa buong mundo, libu-libong mga kabataan, iba't ibang kaparaanan, iisa ang layunin. Manawagan para sa agarang pagtugon ukol sa isyu ng climate change. Bakit gano'n na lamang ang panawagan ng paghingi ng agarang pagtugon patungkol sa isyu na ito? Ang episode natin ngayon ay hango pa rin sa Math10 na tatalakay ang kalagayan, suliranin at pagtugon sa isyung pangkapaligiran ng Pilipinas. Mayroon akong inihandang 5 placard na naglalaman ng mga pahayag. Suriin ang mga ito at isulat sa inyong inihandang papel ang tama kung ito ay nagpapahayag ng katotohanan at mali naman kung walang katotohanan. Kaya na ba ang 5 segundo para ito ay inyong sagutin? Imulat ang mga mata, magsuri at tumugon. Unang placard. Ang climate change ay malaking banta hindi lamang sa Pilipinas kundi sa buong mundo. Ang pahayag ay tama. Walang global climate strike kung ang issue na ito ay nasa pambansang saklaw lamang. Tulad ng datos natin kanina, mahigit 3,000 lugar sa iba't ibang panig ng mundo ang naglunsad ng climate strike. Nangangahulugan ito na ang climate change ay isang pandaigdigang kontemporaryong isyung pangkapaligiran. Ito ay naramdaman simula sa kalagitnaan ng ika-20 siglo na hanggang ngayon ay nagdudulot ng malawakang epekto sa anumang panig ng mundo. Tignan natin ang ilang mga kaganapan. Ito ay nagpapakita na ang climate change ay malaking banta sa buong mundo. Ikalawang placard. Ang climate change ay natural na pangyayari kaya't walang dapat sisihin sa pag-iral nito. Ang pahayag ay mali. Ayon sa Department of Health, ang climate change ay ang pagbabago ng klima o panahon dahil sa pagtaas ng greenhouse gases na nagpapainit sa mundo. Abnormal na pagbabago ng klima sa buong mundo. Nararanasan mo ba ito? Nangyayari ba ito sa inyong komunidad? Nararanasan mo ba ang abnormal na pag-init o paglamig ng temperatura? Ang tuloy-tuloy at malalakas na pag-ulan sa inyong lugar. Ang climate change ay maaaring natural na pangyayari o kaya naman napapabilis o napapalala ito ng tao. Suriin ang talahan na yan. Lagyan ng check kung ito ay ginagawa ng mga tao sa ating komunidad at X naman kung hindi. 1. Deforestation. 2. Pagsusunog ng fossil fuel. 3. Paggamit ng mga sasakyan na gumagamit ng gasolina na siyang nagbubuga ng carbon dioxide. 4. Pagsasawalang bahala sa waste segregation. 5. Paggamit ng mga chemical na fertilizer. Kumusta ang inyong mga sagot? Ilan ang may check? 3? 4? O lahat? Ano ang ipinapakita nito? Ang iyong mga sagot ay nagpapakita na ikaw at ako, tayo ang nagiging dahilan sa paglala ng climate change. 3, placard. Sa pag-iral ng climate change, tanging kapaligiran lamang ang apektado. Kung ang sagot mo ay mali, tama ka. Tignan ang mga larawan. Patungkol saan ang mga ito? Kung ang sagot mo ay patungkol sa mga epekto ng climate change, tama ka ulit. Ang ipinapakita ba ng mga larawan ay epektong pangkapaligiran lamang? Nasasaklawan din ng issue na ito ang iba pang uri ng kontemporaryong issue. Ang climate change ay may epekto sa kapaligiran, kalusugan, at kabuhayan ng tao. 4 na placard. May magagawa ang bawat tao upang mapababa ang peligrong dulot ng climate change. Ang 4 na pahayag ay tama. Naniniwala ka bang may magagawa ka? Buksan ang inyong self-learning module sa Gawain 14, #para sa bayan, #para sa kinabukasan. Ikalimang placard. Bilang kasapi ng nagkakaisang bansa, tumutugon ang Pilipinas sa hamon ng climate change. Kung ang sagot mo ay tama, magaling! Ang Republic Act No. 9729, na kilala bilang Climate Change Act of 2009, ang sagot ng Pilipinas sa banta ng climate change. Isa sa nilalaman nito ay ang paglikha ng Climate Change Commission. Ilang placard ang inyong nasagutan? Kung 5, mahusay. Ibig sabihin ay mulat kayo sa isyong ito. Ngunit paalala mga grade 10, hindi sapat na maging mulat. Dapat ay maging mapanuri at mapagtugon sa paglutas ng mga suliranin. Upang masukat ang inyong natutunan sa ating talakayan, sagutin ang Gawain 15, panghuling pagtataya bilang 11 hanggang 15 sa inyong self-learning module. Alin sa sumusunod ang layunin ng Climate Change Commission na nilikha sa ilalim ng Climate Change Act of 2009? A. Panatilihing malinis ang hangin ng bansa. B. Gumawa, sumubaybay, at sumuri ng mga programa at pagkilos sa pagbabago ng klima. C. Pagaanin ang negatibong epekto ng climate change. D. Mapahusay ang kakayahan ng mga negosyante na gumamit ng environment-friendly na estratehiya upang mapaunlad ang ekonomiya. Ang sagot ay B. Ang Pilipinas ay apektado ng nagaganap na climate change. Alin sa sumusunod ang epekto nito sa ating bansa? A. Pagtaas sa insidente ng dengue. B. Pagliit ng produksyon ng pagkain. C. Malalakas na bagyo na nagdudulot ng pagbaha at landslides. D. Lahat ng nabanggit. Ang sagot ay D. Ang pag-init ng temperatura ng mundo ay nagdudulot ng mga sakuna gaya ng heatwave, baha at tagtuyot. Alin sa mga sumusunod ang maaaring maging epekto nito? A. Pagdami ng sakit gaya ng dengue, diarrhea, malnutrisyon at iba pa. B. Pagkakaroon ng marami at malalakas na bagyo. C. Pag-iral ng mga pangklimang penomena gaya ng La Nina at El Nino. D. pagkakaroon ng tinatawag na global warming? Ang sagot ay A. Dahil ang Pilipinas ay isang kapuluan, isa ito sa mga bansang labis na apektado ng climate change, lalo na ang sektor ng pagsasaka at pangingisda. Ano ang maaaring implikasyon nito sa kabuhayan ng mga mamamayan? A. Nagdudulot ito ng panganib sa seguridad ng pagkain. B. Nanganganib lumubog ang mga mabababang bahagi ng bansa. C. Nagiging sagabal ito sa pag-unlad ng bansa. D. Sanhi ito ng paglikas ng mga tao papuntang syudad. Ang sagot ay A. Alin sa mga sumusunod ang hindi tamang pahayag tungkol sa epekto ng climate change? A. Mataas ang banta ng epekto ng climate change sa Pilipinas. B. Malaki at seryoso ang epekto ng climate change sa kapaligiran. C. Hindi maaaring makialam ang individual na tao sa pagsugpo sa climate change dahil gawain lang ito ng pamahalaan. D. Halos kalahati ng populasyon ng buong mundo ay nakararanas ng masamang epekto ng climate change. Ang sagot ay C. Sino sa inyo ang nakakakilala sa kanya? Siya ay si Greta Thunberg mula sa Stockholm, Sweden. Noong 2019, siya ang kinilala ng Time Magazine na Person of the Year, ang pinakabata na kanilang kinilala. Siya ay isang environmental activist na kinikilala sa iba't ibang panig ng mundo, dahilan sa kanyang tapang at paninindigan patungkol sa isyu ng climate change. Alam mo bang kasing edad mo siya? Kaya mo rin bang maging katulad niya? Kaya mo bang maging inspirasyon ng iba? Isang kabataan na mulat, mapanuri, at may paninindigan? Para sa inyong takdang aralin, mag-post sa inyong social media account ng panawagan patungkol sa climate change. Kung walang social media account, ilagay ang inyong panawagan sa isang papel at ilagay ito sa labas ng inyong bahay. Lagyan ito ng hashtag para sa bayan, hashtag para sa kinabukasan. Para sa ating K2, ang mundo ay nangangailangan ng mga kabataang maninindigan at agarang tutugon sa paglutas ng suliranin, lalong-lalo na sa climate change. May magagawa ka upang ang mundo ay maprotektahan, pamumuhay ay gumaan, at kalusugan ay maingatan. Laging tandaan, mga mulat at mapanuring kabataan na sa kanilang tungkulin ay tumutugon, dulot ay transformasyon sa bawat individual at nasyon. Magkita-kita tayong muli sa susunod nating episode. Dito sa DepEd TV, pakikinggan ang boses ng kabataang Pilipino sa pagtalakay ng iba't ibang kontemporaryong issue.
May mga araw na hindi natin ginusto. Kulang ang mga salita para ilarawan ang sakripisyo. Kung minsay, tinatalo ng pagod ang ligaya.
Umabot na sa 20 ang kumpirmadong kaso ng coronavirus disease 2019.
Madalas ay niyayakap tayo ng pangamba. Ngunit sa mga araw na iyon, pinili nating hindi sumuko. Patuloy tayong humahanap ng solusyon. Hindi tayo tumigil sa paghahatid ng edukasyon. Mahirap at marami mang balakid. Hindi man perpekto, hindi man sapat sa ngayon. Magtulungan tayo upang sa bawat araw, unti-unti mapawi ang pangamba. Maibalik ang saya at magbigay ginhawa. Upang bawat sakripisyo'y masuklian ng tamang halaga. Ligayang walang katumbas sa piling niya. May mga araw na hindi natin ginusto, pero gagawa natin ng paraan ito.
Hi, good day. Welcome in today's episode of DepED TV. I am Sir Jason Flores Oso, your math buddy, and I will be here to help you in developing your logical reasoning and critical thinking skills. Is your self-learning module ready? What about your pen and paper? Great! Let's begin a fun and exciting lesson. For this lesson, you are expected to, first, find the sum of the first n terms of an arithmetic sequence, and second, solve word problems involving arithmetic series. In the previous episode, it was discussed that to find the nth term of an arithmetic sequence, the formula a sub n is equal to a sub 1 plus d times n minus 1 can be used. In this episode, we will discuss how to find the sum of the first n terms of a given arithmetic sequence. For example, how do we compute the sum of all the terms of each of the following sequences? Letter A, 1, 2, 3, up to 100. And letter B, 5, 10, 15, 20, up to 50. Adding manually the terms of a sequence is manageable when there are only few terms in the sequence. However, if the sequence involves numerous terms, then it is no longer practical to be adding the terms manually. It is a tedious work to do. Thus, this episode will present to you a formula that will make the computation faster and easier. To let you experience getting the sum of the terms in a sequence manually, let's do the following. Number 1, find the sum of the first 20 natural numbers. By listing all the natural numbers from 1 to 20 and adding them, we have 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 up to 20 that is equal to 210. Thus, the sum of the first 20 natural numbers is 210. Number 2. Find the sum of all the terms of the sequence 5, 10, 15, 20, up to 50. By listing all the terms of the sequence and adding them, we have 5 plus 10 plus 15 plus 20 up to 50, you will get 275. Thus, the sum of the terms of the sequence is 275. What if you're asked to find the sum of the terms of the sequence 1, 2, 3, up to 10,000? There are 10,000 terms to be added one by one to get their sum, right? In doing this kind of solution, it is very challenging, especially if you're dealing with a sequence that has many terms. In getting the sum of the terms of an arithmetic sequence, we will be using any of the following formula. S of n is equal to n divided by 2 times a sub 1 plus a sub n if the first and last term are given. Again, if the first and last term are given, we will use the formula S sub n is equal to n divided by 2 times a sub 1 plus a sub n, where S sub n is the sum of the first n terms. N corresponds to the nth position. A sub 1 is the first term of the sequence, and a sub n is the last term. On the other hand, if the last term is not given, we will use the formula S sub n is equal to n divided by 2 times the quantity 2 times a sub 1 plus n minus 1 times d. Again, if the last term is not given, we will use the formula S sub n is equal to n divided by 2 times the quantity 2 times a sub 1 plus n minus 1 times d, where S sub n is the sum of the first n terms, a sub 1 is the first term of the sequence, and d is the common difference. Let's take a look at these examples. Find the sum of the first 20 natural numbers. From this sequence, we can see that our a sub 1 is equal to 1, our a sub n is equal to 20, our n is equal to 20, and we are looking for S sub n. Since the first and last terms are given, we will use the formula S sub n is equal to n divided by 2 times a sub 1 plus a sub n. Substituting the given values in the formula, we will have S sub 20 is equal to, our n is 20 divided by 2 times our a sub 1 is 1 plus our a sub n is equal to 20. Next, we will have S sub 20 is equal to 20 divided by 2 will give us 10, and 1 plus 20 will give us 21. Our S sub 20 will be the product of 10 and 21. We will get 210. Therefore, the sum of the first 20 natural numbers is 210. Now, let's go to the next example. Find the sum of the first 16 terms of the arithmetic sequence 8, 11, 14, 17, 20, and so on. Notice that in this sequence, the given are a sub 1, which is equal to 8. Our n is equal to 16. The difference is 3. And we are looking for the sum of the first 16 terms. Notice that the last term is not given, so we will use the formula S sub n is equal to n divided by 2 times the quantity 2 times a sub 1 plus n minus 1 times d. By substituting the given values in the formula, we will have S sub 16 is equal to, our n is 16, divided by 2 times the quantity 2, our a sub 1 is 8, plus our n is 16 minus 1 times the difference, which is 3. Next, we will have S sub 16 is equal to 16 divided by 2 is 8 times the quantity 2 times 8 will give us 16 plus 16 minus 1 is 15 and the difference of 3. Next, we will have S sub 16 is equal to 8 times the quantity 16 plus 15 times 3 will give us 45. Next, we'll have S sub 16 is equal to 8 times the quantity of 16 plus 45 will give us 61. Our S sub 16 is equal to the product of 8 and 61, that is equal to 488. Thus, the sum of the first 16 terms of the series is 488. Great! Now, let's move forward to the next example. After knowing all the needed concepts in finding the sum of an arithmetic sequence, let's try to answer the following exercises. Find the sum of each arithmetic series. The first one, find the sum of the first 30 terms of the arithmetic sequence 1 plus 3 plus 5 and so on. Notice that in this problem, our given a sub 1 is equal to 1, our n is 30, our difference is 2, as you can see, by adding the difference to the preceding term to get the next term. And we are looking for S sub 30. With this problem, the last term is not given, so we will use the formula S sub n is equal to n divided by 2 times the quantity 2 times a sub 1 plus n minus 1 times d. Substituting the values in the formula, we will get S sub 30 is equal to, our n again is 30 divided by 2 times the quantity 2 times a sub 1, which is 1, plus our n again is 30 minus 1 times the difference 2. Next, we have S sub 30 is equal to 30 divided by 2 will give us 15 times the quantity 2 times 1 is 2 plus 30 minus 1 will give us 29 times the difference 2. Moving forward, we will have S sub 30 is equal to 15 plus, or the quantity 2 plus 29 times 2 is equal to 58. S sub 30 is equal to 15 times the quantity of 2 plus 58, that's 60. Our S sub 30, therefore, is the product of 60 and 15. We will get 900. Thus, the sum of the first 30 terms of the sequence is equal to 900. Excellent! Let's boost up your learning with another example. Find the sum of the sequence 1, 2, 3, 4, up to 10,000. From the sequence, we can notice that the given a sub 1 or first term is equal to 1. Our n is equal to 10,000. Our a sub n is equal to 10,000, and we are looking for s sub n. Also, notice that the first and the last term are given, so we will use the formula s sub n is equal to n divided by 2 times a sub 1 plus a sub n. Substitute the values in the given formula. We will have s sub 10,000 is equal to, our n again is 10,000 divided by 2 times the first term, which is 1, plus our a sub n, which is 10,000. Next, we have s sub 10,000 is equal to 10,000 divided by 2 will give us 5,000 times the sum of 1 and 10,000, you will have 10,001. Our s sub 10,000 now is the product of 5,000 and 10,001. It will give us this term. Therefore, the s sub 10,000 of the sequence is 50,005,000. Oh, so awesome! Fasten your seatbelts as we proceed to the next exercise. Find the sum of the first 13 terms of the sequence -3, -1, 1, 3, and so on. Notice that from the sequence, our given a sub 1 or the first term is -3. Our n is 13. The difference is 2, that is by adding the common difference to the preceding term to get the next term. And we are looking for s sub 13. Since the last term is not given, we will use the formula s sub n is equal to n divided by 2 times the quantity 2 times a sub 1 plus n minus 1 times the difference. Again, substitute the values in the formula. We will have s sub 13 is equal to n, which is 13, divided by 2 times the quantity 2 times a sub 1, that is -3, plus our n, which is 13, minus 1 times the difference, which is 2. Next, we have s sub 13 is equal to 13 divided by 2 will give us, correct, 6.5 times the quantity 2 times -3. This will be equal to -6 plus 13 minus 1 will give us 12 and times the difference, which is 2. Moving on, we have S sub 13 is equal to 6.5 times the quantity negative 6 plus the product of 12 and 2 will give us 24. Next, we have S sub 13 is equal to 6.5 times, get the sum of negative 6 and 24 will give us positive 18. That's correct. Then, our S sub 13 now will be equal to the product of 6.5 and 18. We will have 117. So the sum of the 13 terms of this sequence is equal to 117. How's that? Oh, so amazing! Well done! Congratulations, dear students! On this part, let us see what you have learned from today's episode by answering the following questions. To find the sum of the terms of an arithmetic sequence, what formula can we use if the first term and last term are given? If the first term and last term are given, we use the formula S sub n is equal to n divided by 2 times a sub 1 plus a sub n. What about if the last term is not given? What formula can we use? If the last term is not given, we use the formula S sub n is equal to n divided by 2 times the quantity 2 times a sub 1 plus n minus 1 times d. Now, let's apply what you have learned by solving the given word problem. Jane was saving for a pair of shoes. From her weekly allowance, she was able to save 5 pesos on the first week, 9 pesos on the second, 13 pesos on the third week, and so on. If she continued saving in this pattern and made 43 deposits, how much did Jane save? Let's analyze and solve the problem together. From the given problem, we can see that our first term, or a sub 1, is equal to 5 pesos. Our n is equal to 43. The difference is equal to 4. And we're looking for S sub n. Since the last term is not given, we will use the formula S sub n is equal to n divided by 2 times the quantity 2 times a sub 1 plus n minus 1 times d. Substituting the values in the formula, we will have S sub 43 is equal to 43 divided by 2 times the quantity 2 times 5 plus 43 minus 1 times 4. S sub 43 is equal to 43 divided by 2 is equal to 21.5 times the quantity 2 times 5 is 10 plus 43 minus 1 is 42 times 4. S sub 43 is equal to 21.5 times the quantity 10 plus the product of 42 and 4, that is 168. S sub 43 is equal to 21.5 times the sum of 10 and 168, that's 178. S sub 43 is the product of 21.5 and 178.
Tulong-tulong, may paraan, may aralan.
Handang isip, handa bukas.
Bisitahin ang DepED Philippines sa Facebook at ang deped.gov.ph.
Hello, hello! Welcome to another episode of Learning English with your one and only Ma'am Carla, your tender-loving English teacher broadcaster. Now, let's have a short quiz bee to review about plot setting and characterization. This quiz bee is very easy. You simply have to identify the terms defined in each number. Write your answers in your board or paper. At the count of 5, or when you hear this sound, you have to raise your board and show me your answer. Game? Alright, let's play. Number 1. It refers to the period or time when the story happens. Go! That's right! The answer is setting. Number 2. It is the struggle faced by the main character in the story. Go! Correct! It is conflict. Number 3. It is the turning point and most exciting part of the story where the main character faces a major enemy, fear, challenge, or other source of conflict. Go! Good remembering! It is climax. Number 4. It is the final outcome of events in the story. It is also known as denouement. Go! Awesome! The answer is resolution. Number 5. It refers to any person, animal, or figure represented as actor or mover in a story. Go! Brilliant! It's character. Last time, we learned that the appraisal of the unity of plot, setting, and characterization in a material viewed is important to identify and understand the author's purpose. Today, we will continue studying about plot, setting, and characterization. We will dig deeper into these terms. But wait! Do you know Daedalus and Icarus? Okay, listen carefully. I will tell you their story after we unlock the vocabulary words that we will encounter in the story. I want you to arrange the jumbled letters to form the word that is being defined in each number. Write your answers in a piece of paper. You have 5 seconds to unscramble each word. Ready? Nice! Let's vocabulary, let's go! Number 1. It means intentionally harmful and violent. Did you write vicious? Excellent! You got it right! Example: the poor little girl was paralyzed after being bitten by a vicious snake in the forest. Again, number 1 is vicious. Number 2. It refers to a person who is an expert in a particular craft. If your answer is craftsman, you have another point. Example: David has been working as a master craftsman in Laguna for 20 years now. Number 2 is craftsman. Number 3, it means to attract or tempt someone by offering him something pleasant. Entice? Your answer is correct. Example: The high specifications of the phone enticed May to replace her 3-year-old phone. Again, that is entice. Number 4. It is a maze or place with many confusing pathways. Did you say labyrinth? Cool! It is correct. Example, a labyrinth of tunnels and chambers were built near the museum. Again, number 4 is labyrinth. And number 5, it means to think about something carefully. Very good. The answer is ponder. Example, Julia and her friends ponder how to surprise Melvin on his birthday. Again, number 5 is ponder. Good job, grade 10! Congratulations! 5 words are added to your word bank today. And with that, I'm sure that you can understand the story easily. So sit back and relax. Let's all be amazed by the story of Daedalus and Icarus. Once upon a time, on the island of Crete, there lived a minotaur, a vicious creature that was a half man and half bull. Everyone in the island was terrified of it because it desired nothing more than to devour human flesh. The people pleaded King Minos to slay the monster, but the king refused to this. Instead, he asked Daedalus, a talented architect, inventor, and master craftsman, to build a labyrinth, a huge complicated maze for his beloved pet. Daedalus unstoppably worked on it day and night. He made it so complex that it would be nearly impossible for anyone or anything to escape from it. He was helped by his son Icarus. Once done, King Minos instructed Daedalus to entice the Minotaur into the labyrinth by leaving some appetizing meat in its center. When the monster was in the labyrinth, it was trapped and unable to escape. The king was greatly enchanted with it. He thought of using this for his enemies. My enemies deserve a dreadful death in the hands of the Minotaur, and this is a perfect invention, said King Minos. From then on, anyone who was sent to the maze would be imprisoned and eventually be bitten alive by the violent creature. However, when the king perceived that Daedalus was no longer beneficial, he threw him into the labyrinth together with his son Icarus. King Minos betrayed Daedalus and intended to kill them. But since Daedalus was the one who built the maze, he and his son was able to find their way out. When they came out of the labyrinth, Daedalus and Icarus managed to go to the shore and pondered on their next plan. They carefully thought of a strategy to leave the island without being noticed by the king. But they felt hopeless because there seemed to be no way. Daedalus looked up at the sky and whispered, "God of wisdom, help us!" Then he noticed the birds flying in the air. "Wings!" he shouted. "Yes, we need wings to fly and be free as a bird." He excitedly explained his bright idea to Icarus. He instructed him to gather as many birds' feathers as he could find. So, from that day, Icarus began to collect feathers. Then, Daedalus meticulously glued them together with wax. After long weeks of hard work and sleepless nights, Daedalus finally finished making 2 pairs of wings. With these words, "You could fly like a bird," he told Icarus. But remember, you must never fly too close to the sun. If you do, the wax that binds the feathers together will melt. And if you fly too close to the ocean, your wings might get wet and will be too heavy for you to fly. Icarus agreed. Then he enthusiastically attached the wings to his arms and helped his father to put on his wings too. Let's fly! Follow me! Up they rose, Icarus after his father, up in the air. And when they looked down, they saw the island of Crete beneath them. Icarus flew higher and faster. He was absolutely ecstatic. Alas, he felt like a bird. Sun, stop! The wax will melt! Daedalus screamed when he saw Icarus flying close to the sun. But Icarus was too thrilled, so he did not hear his father's warning. Suddenly, he noticed that a feather wavered, dropped toward the ocean, and then another, and then another. Oh, the wax was melting! Help! He shouted. But before Daedalus could reach his son, poor Icarus fell with a heavy splash into the water. Daedalus saw nothing but the feathers afloat in the ocean, and he knew that his son drowned. Daedalus named the ocean Icaria in remembrance of his son and left with a heavy heart. Now, let's try to apply what we've learned from our previous discussion to the tale we heard today. Let's start with the characters. Last time, we learned that characters are the persons, animals, creatures, or things that serve as actors or movers in a story. Could you tell me who the characters are in the story? Good! The characters in the story are Daedalus, Icarus, King Minos, and the Minotaur. But how do we categorize them? There are various types of characters in a story. They are: number 1, protagonist, or the main character around which the whole story revolves. He is usually the primary agent who makes the major decisions and experiences the costs of those decisions, and often faces the most substantial conflicts. Daedalus is the main character in the story who was characterized as a talented architect, inventor, and craftsman. He was the one who designed the labyrinth for the Minotaur in the island of Crete and thought of an extraordinary plan to escape from the realm of death set by the villain. He exhibited traits of a hero such as intelligence, for he stood out from the crowds for having created many objects that figure prominently in various myths. Courage, for making wings to escape, and love, for reminding his son Icarus not to fly too close to the sun and near the ocean. Next, we have Icarus. Is he a protagonist, deuteragonist, or antagonist? Icarus was the son of Daedalus, who soared up excitedly, forgetting his father's warning, and eventually drowned in the sea. He was Daedalus's assistant in building the labyrinth and gathering birds' feathers, and the second most important character in the story. Therefore, he is a deuteragonist. We also have King Minos. What do you think? Is he a protagonist, deuteragonist, or antagonist? we learned that King Minos was the king of the island of Crete who instructed Daedalus to build a labyrinth for the Minotaur. Yet, he decided to throw Daedalus and Icarus into the maze and planned to kill them when they had no further use to him. Undeniably, King Minos is the antagonist in the story. He played as the villain or the bad guy who caused the conflict to the protagonist, Daedalus. What about the Minotaur? Is it a protagonist, the heterogonist, or antagonist? You might think that the Minotaur is also an antagonist because it killed people and caused the main character to struggle, but think again. The Minotaur was a half-man and half-bull monster that was known for its craving to kill innocent victims and devour human flesh. It is a deuteragonist because it was the primary reason why the labyrinth in Crete was created. Remember, a deuteragonist could be any character who plays the second most important role in the story. Now, let's discuss about the plot of the story. Do you still remember what a plot is? Good memory! A plot is the sequence of events that makes up a story. And a plot has 5 elements. Could you enumerate them for me?
Exposition,
Rising action,
Climax,
Falling action,
Resolution.
Perfect! I'm sure you could also perfectly arrange the plot of the story, Daedalus and Icarus, in order, right? Let's try it. I want you to arrange the following pictures according to the sequence of events in the story we listened to earlier. Identify which scene is the exposition, rising action, climax, falling action, and resolution. You have 30 seconds to ponder on this. Now, tell me, which scene is the exposition? Correct. Picture 2 shows the exposition of the story. This part introduces the setting and the characters. We learned that in the island of Crete, there was a half-man, half-bull monster named Minotaur. It loved nothing more than to feast on human flesh, which caused fear to everyone. We also learned that the people begged King Minos to kill the monstrous evil, but he said no to it. And what's next? Good! That's picture 4. The rising action began when King Minos hired Daedalus to build a labyrinth to keep the Minotaur from escaping. Icarus, son of Daedalus, helped his father in building the maze. They kept working on it day and night. But the ungrateful King Minos decided to lock the two in the labyrinth after the construction of the maze. And now, what is the most exciting part of the story or the climax? Yes, that's right. Picture 5 illustrates the turning point of the story. As you could see, Daedalus and Icarus looked terrified when they were inside the labyrinth. But of course, Daedalus didn't want to stay in prison with his son. so he began to devise a way to escape. He thought of creating wings so that they could fly and be free from the island of Crete. A crazy plan, isn't it? Yes, but that crazy plan led the story to its falling action. And which one is it? Great! It is picture 1. We learned that the father and son successfully produced 2 pairs of wings after long weeks of hard work and sleepless nights. Daedalus warned his son about the possible dangers of flying. He reminded Icarus not to fly too close to the sun and not too near the ocean. What could you say about the ending of the story? I'm sure you find it tragic. Well, just like what we've discussed last time, a resolution could be good or bad, happy or sad, and positive or disastrous. As long as it satisfies the audience's curiosity and leaves a significant lesson, it is considered a good resolution. And lastly, setting. Setting refers to the time and location, or when and where a story happens. We discovered the 5 aspects that contribute to evaluating a setting. They are: place. Where does the action of the story take place? Time. When does the story happen? Weather conditions. Is it rainy, sunny, or stormy? Social conditions. What is the daily life of the characters like? And mood. What feeling is created at the beginning of the story? Always remember, learning English may be difficult at first, but if you put your heart in it, you will surely love it. I am Ma'am Carla, heart your service.
Great day, grades 11 12, and UCSP fanatics. Welcome to another episode of UCSP by Doncha, a diverse approach to understanding culture, society, and politics. I'm Teacher Dawn, and together we will expound our awareness of distinct Filipino cultures. During our last episode, we toured museums, visited historical landmarks, and tourist destinations here in Dagupan City and the capital of Pangasinan, Lingayen. We learned fascinating facts about the history of the Philippines and some vitamin kilig from our national heroes. We also talked about the 3 concept maps of culture, society, and politics, and how these 3 words can affect our lifestyles, perceptions, and identities as Filipinos. That's why in today's episode, we will go to the radio booth. And what are we gonna do there? We will react to some videos. Who's excited to do some reaction vlog? Just kidding! Reaction videos about the aspects of culture and society. Don't you worry, I assure you it's gonna be lit. Hi there everyone! Welcome to WWR 88.1 Mabuhay Radio of the Dagupan City National High School, Senior High School. And this is where we will react to some videos as we talk about the characteristics of culture. The first video that we will be reacting is from the National Commission for Culture and the Arts. This video is entitled Buhay na Buhay, Kultura ng Pagdidiwata. It's the very first episode of the 8-part documentary series based on the studies of Professor Felipe M. De Leon Jr., the former president of NCCA, and hosted by Senator Lauren Legarda.
Yung mga survival course at tinuturo namin ng panahon pa ng Amerikano, yun po yung para sa kung paano mamuhay dito sa gubat ng walang-wala. So kahit po marami ng teknolohiya ngayon, so yung aming kultura hindi nawawala.
Ang kaalaman mula sa kagubatan ay produkto ng libu-libong taon ng pakikipag-ugnayan ng mga aitas sa mga puno, sa mga ibon at hayop, sa mga tanim, sa klima at sa takbo ng panahon.
Did you like the video? Pretty sure you did. Let's give it a like emoji. Have you also visited Subic and witnessed how the Aitas demonstrated some of their survival techniques? This made me remember my visit in Subic when I was but a little girl. We've seen in the video the willingness of the Aitas to share their tribal practices and survival techniques. This is a manifestation of one of the characteristics of culture. It is shared. Culture is shared. Isn't it great to see the eagerness and willingness of our fellow Filipino as they proudly showcase their skills and talents, how they give importance to their customs, traditions, and beliefs, and preserve them in the midst of differences and modernization.
Ang mga itnig o tingyan ng Abra ay kilala sa kanilang mga makukulay at masinsin na habi. Ngunit para sa mga dalubhasa, mahalaga rin ang kanilang mga ritual. Ritual na umuugnay sa kanilang mundo, sa mundo ng mga anito at tiwata. Isa sa pinakamahalagang ritual nila ay ang pag-alay sa mga pinaing.
Ang ibig pong sabihin ng pinaing, yun po ang batong may buhay. Yan po ay pinaniniwalaan ng itneg or tingyan na tinatawag. Pwede silang sumapi sa mga napiling tao rin na katulad ng baglan.
Ang mga pinaing ay nilalagay sa mga sagradong espasyo sa bukana o sa gitna ng kanilang mga komunidad. Ang ritual ay sinasagawa ng mga pinakadalubhasang baglan kasama ang mga lalaki ng komunidad. Ngunit matapos ang pag-alay, ang buong komunidad ay binabasbasan ng dugo sa paa. Pinagsasaluhan ng lahat ang inalay sa pinaing. Nagkakaisa sila sa piging at sa sayawan. Dito naghahalo ang lahat. Ang musika, ang sayaw, ang pagsalo-salo, ang pag-awit.
It's a wow! The ethnic group from Abra, as we observed, presents the social characteristic of culture. Culture is social because it is the product of behavior and society. It is cultivated through social interaction and participation.
Para sa mga Ifugao, ang kayamanan ng lupa at ng ani ay isang biyayang dapat ingatan. Sa tradisyonal na kultura nila, ang maitanghal na isang kadangyan o may kaya sa lipunan ang isa sa pinakamataas na ambisyon. Ngunit, kasama ditong obligasyon na maging mapagbigay sa mga di gaanong pinalad sa lipunan. Ang bawat bahagi ng pag-angat sa kanilang lipunan ay ipinagdiriwang sa pamamagitan ng kanyaw o papiging, kung saan ang buong komunidad ay makikisalo sa yamang nakamtan ng isang pamilya. Ang hagabi ay isang malaking upuan na yari sa buong troso. Ito ang pinakamaggarbong sagisag ng kayamanan sa mga Ifugao. Mula sa pagpili ng tamang puno ng mga mumbaki, pati na ang pag-ukit nito, kailangan pakainin ng lahat ng kasama sa trabaho. At kapag dinala na ito mula sa gubat para ilagay sa kanilang bahay, isang malaking piging muli ang dapat ihandog sa komunidad. Bilang pag-alala sa kanilang mga ninuno, pinagkaisahan ng pamilya Dulnuan ang pagpapagawa ng kanilang hagabi. Pinangunahan ng mag-amang Ambrosio Sr. at ng kanyang panganay na lalaki Ambrosio Jr. ang pagsasagawa ng hagabi at ng ritual nito.
Kung nag-perform sila ng uyaoy, ito lang ang hagabi na hindi nila natupad, nagawa, because unfortunately patay sila. Kaya ngayon, inisip namin na as children, ituloy namin itong hagabi.
It's another wow for our third video. It's one of the distinct tribal groups in the Cordilleran region. They showcase that culture is gratifying and idealistic. As seen in the video, we can say that they are truly upholding their beliefs and practices. Another observable characteristic presented here is that culture is continuous and cumulative. This particular family or tribe is experiencing various societal changes and modernization, and yet they are still able to adapt to their society while preserving their traditions.
Si Merlin Bilog at Inteng Bilog ay nagmula sa angkan ng isang gawad manilikha ng bayan o Gamaba Awardee, ang pumanaw na si Ginaw Bilog. Ang karangalan na ginawad ng ating republika bilang pagkilala sa patuloy na pagsasaliksik, paggamit at pagturo ng surat mangyan ni Ginaw Bilog.
Yung sinasabing mangyan script ay ngayon nasa school na. Ang tawag doon ay mangyan script. Sa amin ay hindi pa tinuturo sa school, sulat mangyan talaga. Ang aming sulat ay mula sa aming kanunuan. Wala kaming papel pero hindi namin nakakaligtaan kasi yung mula sa aming kanunuan punta sa amin. Doon sinusulat sa ganitong kawayan. Ang patinig ay 3 lang. Ang katinig ang bilang ay 18. Mahalaga daw po ito sa amin dahil ito daw ay para sa ating mga hanunoon na kailangang hindi pwedeng pag-iwanan hanggang sa mga bagong henerasyon. Kailangan ituturo ito. Kasi yung nabanggit sa akin na noon ang sabi niya ay bago siya mawala, huwag na huwag kalimutang ituro sa mga bata ang sulat mangyan. Dahil ito ay ang ating tunay na kultura.
Oh, let's give this part of the video this sign. What we've seen in the video is an example characteristic of culture, which is transmission, or culture is transmitted among our members of society. Cultural ways are handed down from elders, parents, teachers, and others. They are made possible by language because it is the main vehicle of culture. It can also be transmitted through imitation and instruction. And it is also seen here how they learn their language, which is one of the characteristics of culture. It is learned. All these videos are the different ways of how our fellow Filipino brothers and sisters perform their traditions, practices, and rituals, which mean that culture varies from society to society. By the way, don't you know and observe that culture is complex and it is very much related to society? I bet you are intrigued with this relationship between culture and society. Edward B. Taylor defined culture as that complex whole, which includes knowledge, art, belief, law, morals, custom, and any other capabilities and habits acquired by man as a member of society. Wait a minute, was that a little complex for you? I have here a picture for you to understand and visualize it. It can be seen in the picture that culture is a product of society and that society is composed of small groups. And yet, these two, culture and society, exist independently on each other. Culture, just like every person in society, is susceptible to change or death. Society is not constant. Its member changes from time to time. As a result, culture changes along. New trends in the environment exists, and modern technologies are invented, and advancement of interactions have need created. People evolve over time. As a result of their exposure to renewed or changed laws, values, and standards of society. That is why culture and society are two closely related concepts. For culture to exist and to be developed, it needs human interaction. A society without culture is like a body without soul. Culture and society need each other so they can both develop and prosper. This time, we will be reacting to the different unique Filipino culture expressed in a song. This song is entitled Filipino Ako, Filipino Tayo, written by lyricist Nelson Cruz and composed and arranged by Roy Del Valle. It is the song of Sagisag Kultura 2 project by Advertising Foundation of the Philippines and sang by various Filipino artists.
Lahing matapang, lahing matalino, nalakbay ko ng mundo. Walang unos o bagyo sa aking gugupo, lahi ng matatag. Ako ay Filipino. Ako ay Filipino. Ako'y mga Diyos. Ako ay Filipino. Ako'y makatao, saan man makarating, sino mang makapiling. Aangat ang galing, habang buhay, Filipino. Pagdiriwang ang aming kasiyahan, ipinagbubunyi ang kalayaan. Pinupuri ang katapangan, kapanganakan, pangisan din. Pagbabalik bayan o talino ng tatagisan. Ipagdiwang natin ang pagiging Pilipino. Ako ay Pilipino. Ako'y mga Diyos. Ako ay Pilipino.
Isn't it a lovely song with such wonderful words, melody, and tune? Listening to this song makes me very proud that I am a Filipino. It clearly describes Filipino qualities, characteristics, beliefs, and values. So let us give this video another care emoji. We Filipinos are blessed by distinct attributes worthy of recognition and commendation. Hashtag only in the Philippines. In the song, we've come to hear some of the aspects of culture as a complex whole, which are beliefs and values. Beliefs, these are the concepts that people accept as true about how the world operates and where individuals fit in it. In connection to that, let's replay this part of the song.
Ito ba'y dala ng pagkakataon o sadyang binuot naging okasyon? Pagdiriwang ang aming kasiyahan, ipinagbubunyi ang kalayaan. Pinupuri ang katapangan, kapanganakan, pag-isan, pagbabalik bayan o talino nagtatagisan. Ipagdiwang natin ang pagiging Pilipino.
This video deserves this reaction. The next aspect of culture as a complex whole is values. These are the general and shared perceptions of what is good, right, appropriate, worthwhile, and what concerns the state of existence, like freedom of choice or equal opportunity. Don't you know that there are elements that constitute the Filipino value system? The first one is halaga, which means one's value or worth. It is the evaluative aspect of the Filipino value system that Filipinos find to be the most virtuous. And this aspect has three dimensions. They are pagkatao or self-worth, pakikipagkapwa-tao or dignified relationship with others, and pagkamakatao or compassion. Let's listen to this part. The chorus part of the song really says it all about the dimensions and the aspect of values. It calls for an I care reaction. The second element is asal. Asal or manner is the expression of the evaluative aspect of the Filipino value system. It is constituted of three standards: kapwa or relational, damdamin or emotional, dangal or honor. This time, we will check the music video again.
Kami ang lahing kayumanggi mula sa bughaw na langit at dagat. Mula sa pulang aling mo'y tugo, kinalo sa dilaw na araw at bituin. Yan ang kulay ng katatagan, yan ang kulay ng kahitingan, uungkapang na sumisigaw. Yan ang Pilipino.
The lyrics of the song signify the three standards of asal or manner. As a result of high value system, Filipinos are dignified, brave, and resilient. The last element is diwa. Diwa refers to the kalooban or inner value, which in essence is intertwined reason and emotion. Now take a look at this.
Mga isla, magkakahiwalay ngunit nagkakaisa. Tahanan ng aming lahi, mga pook na aming ninimiti.
Puno ng kasaysayan, puno ng hiwaga. Sa mga lugar na ito nakatanim ang ugat ng pagka-Pilipino.
It's a heart for me. Why? Because this video shows the kalooban or inner value that we Filipinos possess as we take pride to our nationality and country. Isn't it really inspiring and you still can't get over it? Just visit the channel in YouTube, the NCCA Philippines. With this, the video deserves love and care emojis. In connection to that song, let me ask you this question. What do you think the Philippine culture will be 50 years from now? Well, I guess it's you who can answer that. Why don't you share your responses in your SOCMEDs or social media accounts? Just don't forget to use the hashtag Doncha. I would really want to do more reaction videos with you, but our time does not permit it. Why don't we do it again next time? Thank you, senior high school learners and UCSB fanatics. Stay tuned in our next episode for more UCSB lessons. I'm Teacher Dawn, reminding you to take pride in your culture and our Filipino values. Till next time, see you all in another diverse approach to understanding culture, society, and politics, or UCSB lessons. Have a great day, everyone!
kuskusin. Basain, sabunin, kuskusin, kuskusin. Basain, sabunin, kuskusin, kuskusin. Basain, sabunin, kuskusin, kuskusin. Bago ka magluto, bago ka maghain, maghugas ng mga kamay bago ka kumain. Bago mo ihele, bago magpadede, hugasan ng kamay paghahawa ka kay baby. Basain, sabunin mga kamay, kuskusin ang daliri ng pantay. Kuskusin ang palad, kuskusin ng mahusay, pati ilalim ng kuko ay iyong idamay. Yes, 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 yes. Pati ilalim ng kuko ay iyong idamay. Hugasan ng kamay at iwagayway. Hugasan ng kamay at iwagayway. Hugasan ng kamay at iwagayway. Basain, sabunin, kuskusin, kuskusin. Hugasan ng kamay at iwagayway. Hugasan ng kamay at iwagayway. Hugasan ng kamay at iwagayway. Basain, sabunin, kuskusin, kuskusin. Pagkatapos mong hawakan at pakainin ang mga alaga mong hayop na dumihin, ang mga kamay simulan mo nang linisin bago pa lumipat ang sakit na aalipin sa'yo. Kailangan mo ito gawin, wastong paglinis ng kamay pairali. Pagkatapos sa kubeta, pagpasok mo sa bahay, diretso ka sa gripo, kamay iyong ialay. Hugasan ng kamay at iwagayway. Hugasan ng kamay at iwagayway. Hugasan ng kamay at iwagayway. Basain, sabunin, kuskusin, kuskusin. Hugasan ng kamay at iwagayway. Hugasan ng kamay at iwagayway. Hugasan ng kamay at iwagayway. Basain, sabunin, kuskusin, kuskusin. Hugasan ng kamay at iwagayway. Hugasan ng kamay at iwagayway. Hugasan ng kamay at iwagayway. Basain, sabunin, kuskusin, kuskusin. Basain, sabunin, kuskusin, kuskusin.
Pogi kaso parang bakla.
Bakla yan.
Feeling gwapo.
Oo, pangit yan sa personal.
Hala, ano nangyari sa kanya? Dati ang payat niya, ha? Oo nga, ang laki ng pinagbago niya. Ayokong lumabas. Sa bahay lang ako. Ano ba to? Bakit ganito?
Naman, tinatana ang bunso ko. Naku mamaya, magliligaw ko na.
Ang pogi naman ni Kuya.
Sometimes you would want to be accepted and be in, but at times you would want to be just left alone. The transition period between childhood and early adulthood is quite difficult. Remember when you started to notice your rapid changes in your body and how mostly resulted in your being self-conscious and being overly emotional. Today, we will be focusing on the developmental tasks and challenges you experience as an adolescent. Also, we will recognize the significant people in your life that have a great impact on your growth and well-being. Hi guys, I'm Teacher Mark and welcome to your show, where we will learn to become more aware of who we are and better understand ourselves and the people around us. I will guide you in your journey of personal empowerment to become more positive as a person, to be the best version of yourself every day, and to help you raise your confidence, self-motivation, and more. Commit to your vision or plan in achieving your aims and goals in life. Join me as we uncover your limitless potential. Let's rock! This is Personal Development on DepED TV. Despite the challenges in your life, with the guidance, assurance, and a better understanding of the process, you will have an easier time transitioning during this extraordinary developmental stage called adolescence. Adolescence is defined as the period between the normal onset of puberty and the beginning of adulthood. World Health Organization defines adolescents as individuals in the age group of 10 to 19 years old, and youth as the 15 to 24 age group, while the young people group covers the age range from 10 to 24 years. Adolescents are not a homogeneous population. They exist in a variety of circumstances and have diverse needs. The transition from childhood to adulthood involves dramatic, physical, sexual, psychological, and social developmental changes, all taking place at the same time. In addition to opportunities for development, this transition poses risks to their health and well-being. Let's have an interview, a few of them, and ask them about the most common challenges that adolescents like you experience.
Yung isa po sa napansin kong pagbabago sa katawan ko is yung tinubuan ka na ng buhok sa kilikili mo. Parang naiisip mo na hindi dapat to, na walang dapat ang babae nito, na dapat hindi nila makikita. Ganun kasi para sa akin na hindi siya magandang tignan para sa isang babae. Yun nga po, nung una ako nagkaroon ng tigyawat, nakakahiya po talaga. Kasi po, ako yung klase ng tao na masyadong conscious sa sasabihin ng ibang tao. So, nung una ko pong makita na sa mukha ko na may tigyawat po ko, nakakahiya po talaga kahit na hindi naman po ganun karami. Yung pinakamahirap po sa monthly period talaga para sa mga babae is yung isipin mo yung red spot na dapat alerto ka kung saan ka man magpunta, mang ginagawa mo, dapat chine-check mo siya palagi. Yung sakit po sa puso, isa po sa pinakamahirap na challenge para po sa mga katulad kong babae.
This is an example of biological challenges. From our last topic, we have learned that physical development occurs at this time. This maturation event is called puberty. With the release of sexual hormones, you'll observe that your emotions, moods, and sexual feelings are much stronger. You may feel more impulsive and more inclined to take risks, like experimenting with alcohol, driving without a license, or having unsafe sex. Now, let's proceed to cognitive challenges. According to Jean Piaget, in his theory of cognitive development, adolescence is the time when young people like you develop cognitively from concrete operational, which is from 7 to 11 years old, to formal operational from 12 years and up. With that, you're able to think logically about abstract propositions and test hypotheses systematically. Also, you become concerned with hypothetical, the future, and ideological problems. Here's another interview.
Kapag pinag-uusapan po ako, ang nafe-feel ko lang, may mali po ba sa akin para pag-usapan nila or ano po kaya yung naging dahilan para may pag-usapan sila tungkol sa akin. Ang masasabi ko lang, alam ko naman yung ginagawa ko sa sarili ko and alam ko rin na para sa ikabubuti ko to. Wala naman pakialam sa sasabihin ng iba. Bakit? Sino ba sila?
You have become more self-conscious, thinking you are being watched by others like you are on a center stage or performing for an imaginary audience. It's egocentrism. Egocentrism refers to someone's inability to understand that another person's view or opinion may be different from their own. It represents a cognitive bias, in that someone would assume that others share the same perspective as they do, unable to imagine that other people would have a perception of their own. It is important to emotionally take care of yourself if you meet an egocentric person. Remember that their inability to consider your perspective or opinion is about their cognitive bias, not a result of anything you have done. Now, let's proceed to psychological challenges.
Grabe, no high school ako. Iniingitan ako ng mga classmates ng mga kaibigan ko. Eh bakit ba naman? Tapos na ako sa klase, tapos sa sports. Opo, maning-mani yan sa akin. Lahat yata, kinahang ako, champion ako lahat dito. But sa araw, dahil sa famous daw ako sa school, may nag-invite sa akin kaibigan ko na sumama sa kanila. Eh, pinakita sila sa akin, napaka-curious ko pa noon. Sabi nila, party bags daw. Try ko daw, para sumikat ako lalo. Tinikman ko ito nung una. Naging ayaw ko, subalit habang tinitikman ko ito ng paulit-ulit, parang hinahanap-hanap ko po na ang aking katawan. Ang sarap ng pakiramdam na parang wala kang iniisip dahil sa drugs na to. Parang malaya ka lagi, malaya ka, masaya ka. Wala kang pakalam sa mga nangyayari sa mundo. Subalit, unti-unting nagkaganito, nasira ang buhay ko.
Adolescence is a crucial period you must cope with. From who I am to this is me. To find your answer, attain maturity and independence, you are confronted with a series of challenges and developmental tasks. According to World Health Organization's key facts, 1 in 6 people is aged 10 to 19 years. Mental health conditions account for 16% of the global burden of disease and injury in people aged 10 to 19 years. Half of all mental health conditions start by 14 years of age, but most cases are undetected and untreated. Globally, depression is one of the leading causes of illness and disability among adolescents. Suicide is the third leading cause of death in 15 to 19-year-olds. The consequences of not addressing adolescent mental health conditions extend to adulthood, impairing both physical and mental health and limiting opportunities to lead fulfilling lives as adults. You are exposed to different risk factors that can impact your mental health. Factors that can contribute to stress include a desire for greater autonomy, pressure to conform to peers' expectations, exploration of sexual identity, and increased access to and use of technology. Some adolescents are at greater risk of mental health conditions due to their economic conditions, stigma, discrimination or exclusion, or lack of access to quality support and services. With that, you need to develop and maintain social and emotional habits for mental well-being. These include adopting a healthy lifestyle, getting the right number of sleep hours, exercising regularly, developing coping, creative problem-solving, and social skills, and learning to manage emotions. Supportive environments in the family, at school, and in the wider community are also essential. Now, let's proceed to some of the social issues, including sexual abuse, substance abuse, influence of mass media, and impact of social media.
Sabi niya kasi, kung talagang mahal ko siya, pagbibigyan ko siya sa gusto niya. Sa online lang kasi kami nagkakilala. Tapos, nagkayayaang magkita. Pumunta kami sa resto para kumain. And, bigla na lang ako nahilo at wala na talaga ako naalala pagkatapos niya.
There are adolescents that face some form of sexual coercion, whether through peer pressure or actually believing lines like, "Do you really love me?" that they may hear from their boyfriend or girlfriend. In addition, easy access to different substances could lead to abuse, like smoking or chewing tobacco, drinking too much alcohol and liquor, and worse yet, the use of illegal drugs. Social media can be a great way to connect and communicate with one another, especially now during the pandemic. There are some benefits, but it can also be problematic because one can be exposed to cyberbullying and pornography, to name a two. It's important for you as a responsible adolescent to make sure you are fully aware of the risks you are facing and that nobody has the right to force you into anything you are uncomfortable with. Stay safe online. Navigate social media in a healthy way. Be a media and information literate. Professor Robert Havighurst of the University of Chicago proposed that stages in human development can best be thought of in terms of the developmental tasks that are part of the normal transition. He identified developmental tasks associated with the adolescent transition. It can also be seen as elements of the overall sense of self that adolescents carry with them as they move toward and into young adulthood. A developmental task is a task that arises at or about a certain period in life, unsuccessful achievement of which leads to inability to perform tasks associated with the next period or stage in life. Here are the developmental tasks. First, learning to get along with friends of both sexes. To learn to look upon girls as women and boys as men. To become an adult among adults. To learn to work with others for a common purpose, disregarding personal feelings. To lead without dominating. Second, accepting one's physical body and keeping it healthy. To accept one's body, to keep it healthy through good nutrition, exercise, disease prevention, and other health practices. Third, becoming more self-sufficient. To develop affection for parents and respect for older adults without dependence upon them. Fourth, making decisions about marriage and family life. To explore attitudes toward family life and having children. To acquire the knowledge necessary for home management and, if desired, child rearing. Fifth, preparing for a job or career. To develop career or vocational goals and ways to reach these goals. to be able to make a living. Sixth, acquiring a set of values to guide behavior, to develop an outlook toward life based on what is important. Seventh, becoming socially responsible, to participate as a responsible person with friends at home and in the community, to develop personal moral values to guide behavior. Being in senior high school is another stage of life that young adolescents like you need to prepare for, to face the adversities that challenge your well-being. Armed with confidence and logical thinking, you can be guided in any decisions to take in life. As you continuously progress in every learning situation, it is also fitting to look back at the people who molded you to become better as a person. Surrounding yourself with the people who have contributed significantly to your personal development is a good strategy for self-growth. Not only do they give you a sense of belongingness, but also a feeling of security for having an extended family beyond your own. Since man cannot survive alone, every individual needs social membership in order to develop different potentials necessary for present and future success. Adolescents choose their idols from people they see in social media and from the society they get involved in. From these people they see as role models, they get inspiration and imbibe their positive outlooks in life. These people help mold them in many significant ways and become part of their existence. Let's hear it from you. Who are the people who influence you as a person? How did they contribute to your personal development?
My parents, maswerte ako sa mga magulang ko dahil alam kong responsible sila at pagmahal sila mga magulang. Mga kapatid ko, kahit paminsan-minsan nag-aaway, mahal ko ang mga kapatid ko at mahal din nila ako. Friends, para ko na rin sila mga kapatid. Masaya ako pagkasama ko silang nagkukwentuhan at nagkukulitan. Idol ko si teacher kasi nakikita ko talagang magaling siya. Gusto ko rin maging guro balang araw dahil nai-inspire niya akong pursige para makamit ko ang mga pangarap ko sa buhay. Bilang pangalawang magulang, marami akong natutunan sa kanya. Hindi lamang pang-akademiko, kundi mga aral sa buhay.
How does each agent influence you as a person? How did they contribute to your personal development? With their help, to what extent have you improved in the emotional, intellectual, spiritual, and social aspects of your personality? A person's development is always attributed to the influences he or she got from being involved with other people and society. It is important to evaluate personal progress to track the level of skills acquired and to focus on the aspects of oneself that need to be improved. To effectively facilitate this, there is a need to assess oneself through the help of other people. Their honest feedback means so much to preview one's plan of action and to realign specific items in it to address the goals one sets for oneself. Through the process of socialization, adolescents are exposed to many learning opportunities. As they learn, they will notice additional skills and the buildup of character under the influence of people whom they look up to. Family, as the most important agent of socialization, has given you the knowledge of self-care. As you learn to take care of yourself, you are also taught the way you must deal with other agents in society. Parents teach the value of relationships. They give you their system of belief, traditions, culture, and values that you can use for discernment during difficult decision-making. Peers will always have a great deal of influence in your life. It is rightful, therefore, for parents to feel worried at times about the circle of friends you hope to get involved with. Peers with the right values can teach you to develop skills in organizing tasks, working together with others, giving and receiving feedback in order to evaluate personal learning acquisition. Teachers are also special agents we see in school, a place where many exciting memories are forged through time. as we collaborate with peers. Let us try accomplish these two activities. Our first activity is expressing my gratitude. It is rightful to express one's gratitude to people who have given you inspiration and have helped you grow. This is the chance to tell them how grateful you are for what you have become and the achievements you have reached all these years. Express your appreciation by creating a photo collage with a short message or quote. Post it on your social media account and use the hashtag MyPDJourney and hashtag grateful, hashtag thank you. For our second activity is identifying core values. Core values are the important beliefs of a person or organization that one is part of. These are guiding principles that tell us the right behavior that an individual must manifest as he or she deals with human interaction. Core values are normally learned from people as one continues to engage in socialization. These values help in personal development towards achieving one's set goals in life. In order to be successful in the future, it is necessary to imbibe important values that would serve as a guide towards self-fulfillment. Choose your 5 core values you have learned from all the significant people in your life. We are nearing the end of our episode. Remember, class, challenges like peer pressure, low self-esteem, and hormonal surges can lead you to take chances and engage in risky behaviors that could have a positive or negative effect on your future. As a responsible adolescent, it is important for you to have a support system to rely on. Your parents, siblings, teachers, and good friends can provide you strength and advice as you navigate this challenging, exciting time in your life. Here is a quote from Rick Warren, the author of The Purpose-Driven Life. God changes caterpillars into butterflies, sand into pearls, and coal into diamonds. Using time and pressure, He's working on you too. Share your challenges and how you overcame them. Also, mention the significant person or people who helped you along the way and contributed meaningfully to who you are today. Use the hashtag MyPDJourney and hashtag DepEdTV. Before we end our episode today, let me share this positive quotation from Jim Rohn. Don't wish it were easier. Wish you were better. Don't wish for less problems. Wish for more skills. Don't wish for less challenge. Wish for more wisdom. We need each other. We are imperfect. We must encourage each other and appreciate the people who bring out the best in us. Today, be significant. Bring out the best in others. Be a blessing. This is Teacher Mark. I see greatness in you. Know your worth, make a habit of developing yourself, and be your best version every day. See you in our next episode on personal development on DepEd TV.
Magandang October sa inyong lahat! Bakit magandang October? Dahil sa October, ginaganap ang Global Hand Washing Day! Madalas nating marinig ngayong pandemya na ang paghuhugas ng kamay gamit ang tubig at sabon ay isa sa mga mabisang paraan para mapigilan ang pagkalat ng COVID-19. Ngunit, alam nyo ba na napipigilan din ng paghuhugas ng kamay ang iba pang mga sakit kagaya ng diarrhea o pagtatae? Panoorin natin ang susunod na video para maunawaan kung paano nangyayari ito. Nakita nyo ba ang nangyari sa bata sa video? Ang dumi ng kamay niya, di ba? Punong-puno ng mga germs o mikrobyo mula sa mga bagay na kanyang hinawakan. Kadiri! Tapos, hindi siya naghugas ng kamay bago kumain, kaya hindi natanggal ang mga mikrobyo at nakapasok sa kanyang katawan. Kaya siya nagkasakit. Mahalagang maghugas ng kamay gamit ang tubig at sabon sa mga critical times o mga importanteng pagkakataon. Alam niyo ba kung ano ang mga ito? Bago kumain, pagkatapos tumulong sa gawaing bahay, pagkatapos maglaro, pagkatapos humawak ng mga alagang hayop, pagkatapos umubo o bumahing, at pagkatapos gumamit ng banyo. Tandaan ninyo, kailangang maghugas ng kamay ng may sabon para mas epektibong matanggal ang mga mikrobyo. Para mas maunawaan natin kung paano nakakatulong ang sabon, gawin natin ang eksperimentong ito. Mga bata, magpatulong kayo sa mga nakatatanda sa inyo sa paggawa nito ha, lalo na sa paghahanda ng mga kailangan natin. Isang mangkok ng tubig, durog na paminta, at sabon! Handa na ba kayo? Para sa eksperimentong ito, isipin natin na ang paminta ay ang mga nakakadiring germs o mikrobyo. Ngayon, ilagay natin ang paminta sa mangkok ng tubig. Ano kayang mangyayari pag nilagay natin ang ating daliri sa mga mikrobyo? Parang wala namang nagbago. Ngayon naman, subukan natin ilagay ang isa sa pinaka-epektibong imbensyon para mapigilan ang mga sakit. Alam niyo ba kung ano ito? Ang sabon! Tingnan natin kung paano magre-react ang mga mikrobyo. O diba? Natatakot sila! Ang paghuhugas ng kamay gamit ang tubig at sabon ay isa sa pinaka-epektibong paraan para matanggal natin at mapalayo ang mga mikrobyo. Bagamat ang paghuhugas ng kamay ay mahalaga sa pagpigil ng pagkalat ng mga sakit, napag-alaman ng isang pag-aaral ng UNICEF na isa lang sa bawat 10 estudyante sa elementarya ang naghuhugas ng kamay pagkatapos gumamit ng banyo. Isa sa mga kadalasang dahilan kung bakit hindi nakakapaghugas ang mga bata ay dahil sa nakakalimutan nila ito. Ayon sa mga pag-aaral, ang isang paraan para masolusyonan ang problemang ito ay ang paggamit ng nudges o mga visual na paalala na maghugas ng kamay. Para maunawaan natin ng mas maigi kung ano ang mga ito, pakinggan natin si Dr. Maria Corazon Dumlao mula sa Department of Education at John Villaseñor mula sa UNICEF.
Ang nudges ay mga bagay na nilalagay sa ating kapaligiran para magpaalala o magudyok sa atin na gawin ang isang ninanais na aksyon o pag-uugali. Halimbawa, kung nais natin na maghugas ng kamay ang mga bata, pagkatapos nilang gumamit ng banyo, maaari tayong maglagay ng maliliit na paalala sa daraanan nila mula sa banyo, papunta sa lababo, o lugar kung saan sila maaaring maghugas ng kamay.
Sa isang pag-aaral na ginawa ng Department of Education, UNICEF at ID Insight sa mga paaralan sa Zamboanga del Norte, gumamit sila ng mga makukulay na footprints o bakas ng paa mula sa banyo hanggang sa hugasan ng kamay. Naglagay din sila ng mga posters sa likod ng pintuan para nakikita ito ng mga bata. Sa lugar ng hugasan mismo, naglagay sila ng mga mata at arrow na nakaturo sa sabon para paalalahanan ang mga bata na maghugas gamit ang sabon. Naglagay sila ng nudges sa ilang paaralan at ikinumpara ang paghuhugas ng kamay ng mga bata sa mga paaralan na walang nudges. Nakita nila na mabisa ang mga ito dahil tumaas ng 17 percentage points ang paghuhugas ng kamay ng mga bata sa mga paaralan kung saan naglagay ng mga visual na paalala.
Nakita din sa pag-aaral na tumaas ang access ng mga bata sa mga pasilidad na may tubig at sabon sa mga paaralan na may nudges. Maaaring ito ay dahil sa nahihikayat din ang mga guro na maghanda ng imbak na tubig at sabon para sa mga estudyante. Nasiyahan din ang mga bata sa pakikisalamuha sa nudges at nagustuhan ang itsura nito sa kanilang mga silid sa paaralan.
Kami sa Department of Education ay naniniwala na ang mga nudges o paalalang ito ay lubos na nakakatulong para maengganyo ang mga bata at masanay na madalas na maghugas ng kamay gamit ang tubig at sabon.
Nakita natin mula sa pag-aaral kung gaano ka-epektibo ang nudges o mga visual na paalala sa paghikayat sa mga bata na maghugas ng kamay sa paaralan. Alam nyo bang, maaari rin nating gawin ang nudges na ito sa ating mga bahay? Para sa ating mga mag-aaral na nanonood, tawagin ninyo ang inyong mga magulang para panoorin ang susunod na session at matulungan kayo sa paggawa ng nudges. Para magawa ang nudges sa bahay, kakailanganin natin ang mga ito. Sticker paper na iba't ibang kulay, matigas na papel, permanent marker, colored pens, colored pencils, gunting, scotch tape na makapal, at plastic cover. Para sa session na ito, gagawa tayo ng 4 na nudges. Ito ay ang mata, arrow, footprints, at poster. Ang una nating gagawin ay ang mata. Kuhanin ang sticker paper at gayahin ang drawing na ito. Ang layunin ng paglalagay ng mga mata ay para magaya ang pakiramdam na may nanonood habang naghuhugas ng kamay, na ayon sa mga pag-aaral ay epektibo sa pang-eengganyo ng maghugas ng kamay. Tapos na ba ang drawing? Gupitin ang drawing. Itabi muna ito. Ang susunod naman ay ang arrow. Kumuha ng isa pang sticker paper at mag-drawing tayo ng arrow na nakaturo sa baba. Kagaya ng drawing na ito. Kulayan gamit ang pentel pen. Gupitin ang drawing. Itabi muna natin ito. Ngayon naman, gumawa tayo ng footprints o bakas na mga paa mula sa inodoro o toilet papunta sa lababo. Maaari tayong gumamit uli ng mga stickers ng paa. Para dito, una, bilangin o i-estimate kung ilang footprints ang kailangan. Mag-drawing ng mga paa o footprints sa makukulay na sticker paper. gupitin ang drawing ng footprints. Itabi muna ito. Ngayon naman, gawin natin ang poster na magpapaalala sa mga bata na maghugas ng kamay pagkatapos gumamit ng inidoro para hindi nila makalimutan ito at mabigyan sila ng mensahe tungkol sa kalinisan. Sa matigas na papel, gayahin ang drawing na ito at simpleng mensahe na maaaring ilagay sa likod ng pinto o malapit sa inidoro. Kung makikita ninyo, simple lang ang drawing at wala masyadong mga salitang nakalagay dahil ang layunin ng poster ay mapukaw ang emosyon ng mga bata, kagaya ng pandidiri sa mga mikrobyo. Pagkatapos i-drawing, balutan ng plastic cover para hindi ito madaling mabasa sa loob ng banyo. Maaari din itong ipalaminate kung gusto ninyong mas tumagal ito. Mayroong iba't ibang design ang mga poster na pwedeng palitan kada buwan. Para makakuha ng mas maraming design ng Nudges poster, bisitahin ang Wash in Schools website. Kamusta? Tapos na ba tayong mag-drawing ng mata, arrow, footprints at poster? Tingnan natin kung paano sila ilagay sa ating banyo at hugasan ng kamay. Unahin muna natin ang mga footprints. Siguraduhing malinis at tuyo ang sahig kung saan ididikit ang stickers. Tapos, iposisyon ang mga footprint stickers mula sa banyo papunta sa hugasan ng kamay at idikit ito. Ngayon naman, pumunta tayo sa hugasan ng kamay. Linisan muna ang lugar na ito at patuyuin. Tignan kung nasaan ang lagayan ng sabon. Idikit ang arrow sa ibabaw nito at siguraduhing nakaturo sa lagayan ng sabon ang arrow. Para sa pagdikit ng mata, tignan kung saan dapat tumitingin ang mga bata habang naghuhugas ng kamay. Ito ay maaaring sa ibabaw ng gripo o imbakan ng tubig. Doon idikit ang sticker ng mata sa eye level o kalebel na mata ng mga bata. Kung mukhang madaling matanggal ang mga sticker ng mata at arrow, patungan ito ng clear na scotch tape para kumapit. Ang huli nating ikakabit ay ang poster. Kung nasa labas ng banyo ang hugasan ng kamay, maaari itong idikit sa likod ng pinto para makita ng mga bata bago sila lumabas. Kung nasa loob ng banyo ang lababo o hugasan ng kamay, idikit ito sa pader na kaharap ng inidoro o toilet kung saan madali itong makita ng mga bata pagkatapos nilang gumamit ng inidoro. Ayan! Kumpleto na ang nudges natin sa bahay! Hanggat maaari, ipinapayo namin na ikabit ng kumpleto ang 4 na nudges na mata, arrow, footprints, at poster dahil ang 4 na ito ng sama-sama ay napatunayang epektibo nung inilagay bilang isang set sa mga paaralan. O, diba? Marami na tayong natutunan at nag-enjoy pa! Ang saya! Ngayong alam na natin kung bakit importante ang paghuhugas ng kamay at kailan dapat ginagawa ito, alamin naman natin ang wastong paraan ng paghuhugas nito. Tara mga bata, samahan niyo ako sa susunod na aktibidad na ito. Tumayo tayo at sabihin natin ang salitang bilog. 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 Bilog! Pagkatapos, stretch ang ating mga kamay ng ganito at gumuhit ng maliliit na bilog. Magaling! Ngayon naman, malalaking bilog! Mahusay! Ngayon, tumingin sa paligid. Anong mga bilog na bagay ang nakikita ninyo? Ituro nyo nga. Tama! Ang lahat yan ay mga bilog na bagay. Alam nyo ba kung ano pa ang bilog? Ang mga bula sa sabon. Di ba kapag binabasa at kinukuskus natin ang sabon, may nakikita tayong mga bilog na bula? Alam nyo ba na ang paggawa ng maraming bula ay kailangan para sa wastong paghuhugas ng kamay? Ngayon, alamin natin kung paano ang wastong paraan para maghugas ng kamay. Pagmasdan ang mga bilog na bula habang ginagawa ito. Una, basain ang mga kamay. Tapos, sabunin at pabulain. Kuskusin ang mga kamay ng 20 segundo. Banlawan ang mga kamay. Patuyuin sa hangin. Nakita nyo ba ang mga bula? Importante ang paghuhugas ng may tubig at sabon para masigurong matanggal natin ang mga mikrobyo. Tandaan, pag malinis ang kamay, sakit ay goodbye! Ngayon naman, pakinggan natin ang mensahe ni Secretary Leonor Briones ng Department of Education tungkol sa paghuhugas ng kamay.
Magandang araw sa ating lahat. Taon-taon, tuwing Oktubre, ipinagdiriwang ng Kagawaran ng Edukasyon ang Global Hand Washing Day sa ating mga paaralan. Kadalasan, marami tayong mga ginagawa, mga programa, mga activities para talagang ipaunawa sa ating mga kabataan ang kahalagahan ng paghuhugas ng kamay. Inaanyayahan ko ang ating mga mag-aaral, magulang at mga guro na gawing habit o automatic maging kagawian itong paghuhugas ng kamay para mapanatili ang kalusugan ng mga bata. Isa itong halimbawa kung paano maipagpatuloy ang pag-aaral at pagkakaroon ng bagong kaalaman ang ating mga learners kahit may pandemya at wala sila sa ating mga pisikal na paaralan. Ipagpatuloy ang paghuhugas ng kamay. Walang bata na kailangang maiwan, walang bata na kailangan tumigil sa pag-aaral dahil ang Kagawaran ng Edukasyon ay nakahanda upang tuparin ang paniniwalang ito. Tandaan natin na ang handang isip, handang bukas.
Tuwing October ginagawa ang Global Hand Washing Day. Pero ang paghuhugas ng kamay dapat gawin araw-araw at tuwing kailangan. Lagi nating isaisip ang gawaing ito para makatulong tayo hindi lang sa pagpigil ng COVID-19, kundi ng iba pang sakit na pwede nating makuha mula sa ating mga kamay. Dahil ang handang isip, handa bukas!
Ang bayan ko'y tanging ikaw, Pilipinas kong mahal, ang puso ko at buhay man sa iyo'y ibibigay, tungkulin kong gagampanan na lagi kang paglingkuran, ang laya mo'y papantayan, Pilipinas kong hirap. Ang bayan ko'y tanging ikaw, Pilipinas mahal ang puso ko at buhay man sa iyo'y ibibigay. Tungkulin kong gagampanan na lagi kang paglingkuran. Ang laya mo'y babantayan, Pilipinas kong hirang. Ang laya mo'y babantayan, Pilipinas kong